Chapter 311. Wang Tianlong had suffered several large losses before he met Chu Tian. The 18 divine blood-in corpses were too strong. Although they could not pose a threat individually, the 18 peak 7th awakened soul layer divine blood-in corpses were enough to tie down a peak 9th awakened soul layer expert. The most troublesome part was that after being refined with the divine blood, the Yin corpse's physique was extremely tough. Although Wang Tianlong's wild attacks could cause damage, to an undead like the Yin corpses, a few holes weren't fatal at all. Their divine blood had an automatic regenerative effect, so it was very hard to kill them. Dang dang dang. Chu Tian shook the bell, constantly releasing his spiritual energy. A seal appeared between the eyebrows of the 18 Yin corpses and each Yin corpse released a red glow. There was a chain of energy connecting the Yin corpses, instantly forming a whole body. Blood World Contract. This was a special incantation technique that Chu Tian had developed after studying the ancient gods' memory fragments and according to the nature of the gods' blood. The 18 divine blood-in corpses used the divine blood in their bodies to share the damage. In other words, even if they were hit by Wang Tianlong's full-strength attack, the other 17 Yin corpses would instantly transfer a part of their power, making the power that was enough to kill the Yin corpses no longer a threat. The divine blood Yin corpses had a strong physique that was hard to destroy. Now that the energy was scattered by the seal, it was even harder to destroy the Yin corpses. The dragon aura spear danced in the air, shooting out spear lights. Once the Yin corpses were hit, they would release a barrier made of threads of blood. Countless threads of blood spread in all directions, allowing the energy to spread to the other Yin corpses. The Yin corpses were not injured by the heroic martial marquis attack. Chu Tian said with a smile, "Strange, Sir Heroic Martial Marquis is becoming weaker and weaker. Could it be that he can't even beat a few trivial Yin corpses? If that's the case, then it's really disappointing." The divine blood Yin corpses' attacks would create a blood curse. The more blood curses Wang Tianlong received, the more his strength would be restricted and the lower his chances of winning would be. People could not help but be suspicious. Could Wang Tianlong really not fight against the Yin corpses controlled by Chu Tian? The Wang family members all had pale faces. The Southern Summer King also had an ugly expression as he tightly clenched his fists. Chu Tian had collected quite a bit of information, but he lacked enough understanding of the Yin corpses. From the current information, Chu Tian had publicly used the Yin corpses twice. The first time was to deal with Prince Tianlang in South Sky City and the second time was to deal with the Shengguan family's envoy. The Yin corpses were clearly very weak at the beginning. In such a short time, how could his strength grow faster and faster than Chu Tian himself? It was too unbelievable, it was simply unimaginable. The divine blood Yin corpse had too many special abilities, it could suppress any expert in the peak 9th awakened soul layer. This was not the way to go on. Wang Tianlong shouted. The dragon aura spear turned into a ray of light as it shot at the Yin corpses. Suddenly it turned into a flood dragon, circling around the Yin corpses, avoiding them one by one. Then it plunged into the ground, only to see a mound in the arena, as if there was a dragon moving through the ground. Go around the Yin corpses to deal with Chu Tian. That was a good idea. Flame Demon Transformation. Chu Tian turned into a giant flame demon and his strength broke through the illustrious soul realm, directly reaching the true soul realm. A giant flaming sword slashed at the ground and the flood dragon came out of the ground, fiercely attacking it. Pang! His body trembled. A third of the flames on Chu Tian's body were blown away by the attack. That terrifying strength caused Chu Tian to stagger back 3-4 steps and the starlight protecting his body began to crack. So strong. A casual attack had this kind of might? Chu Tian did not doubt that even if he used the flame demon transformation, if he fought Wang Tianlong head-on, he would not be able to block 3 rounds. Of course, Chu Tian's own invention, the flame demon transformation, also shocked the audience. A trivial 6th awakened soul layer cultivator could use this move to block the attack of a peak 9th awakened soul layer cultivator. This was definitely something to be proud of. After the flood dragon's attack failed, it immediately wanted to turn back. Since you've delivered yourself to me, then I won't be polite. Chu Tian's sword cut down the dragon aura spear. Then he activated the flame demon transformation and grabbed the dragon aura spear, not letting it fly back. Chu Tian looked at the dragon aura spear and said with a laugh, "Good weapon." The dragon aura spear's quality was close to a soul-contracting soul weapon. The only thing it lacked was that this weapon did not have its own consciousness, but because of this weapon would not resist or choose its master. So it could be accepted by Chu Tian without any politeness. The heroic martial marquis had been disarmed. Everyone's eyes almost popped out. The heroic martial marquis thought he could kill Chu Tian with this attack, but he never thought that he would go for wool and come home shorn. After the heroic martial marquis lost the dragon aura spear, could he still block the attacks of the 18 corpses? Wang Tianlong was filled with rage, but he did not lose his mind. He quickly took out a scroll from his chest. "I'll let you see the Wang family's secret technique." Chu Tian's divine sense could feel that the scroll contained a bloodline and spatial energy, so it was not a normal item. He saw Wang Tianlong bite his finger and smear it on the scroll, activating it. The scroll opened in the air and was filled with talismans, activating it in a single breath. A black hole-like space appeared in the arena, and a large dark red figure leaped out from it. Its body that weighed more than 10 tons landed heavily on the ground, causing the entire arena to tremble. Then, its 4 limbs fiercely stomped on the ground, and it suddenly rushed towards Chu Tian's direction. Earth Dragon. Everyone was shocked to see this. It was unknown what secret technique Wang Tianlong had used to summon the Earth Dragon mount to his side. This Earth Dragon's body was dark red and the edges of its scales were dark gold. Its bloodline was very pure and its strength was close to the peak 9th awakened soul layer. A single Wang Tianlong was already hard to deal with. Now that he had summoned the Earth Dragon mount, how could Chu Tian defend himself? Under Chu Tian's control, a chain appeared in each of the divine blood corpses' hands. They shot out at the Earth Dragon, trying to lock it down. Break! Wang Tianlong condensed his spirit energy into a long dragon spear that pierced through the divine blood chains. At the same time, he swept away the corpses blocking the way, clearing a path for the Earth Dragon. This fat and wild Earth Dragon was not something the corpses could block with their flesh. There were flames brewing in its mouth as it charged at Chu Tian, preparing to burn Chu Tian to ashes in a single breath. Almost instantly, a green beam of light shot out, blocking the Earth Dragon's flames. Then, a huge green figure appeared out of thin air and grabbed the Earth Dragon's body. The two behemoths rolled together. That green lizard-like magical beast raised its tail and heavily whipped the Earth Dragon's back. This was not inferior to being chopped by an axe. The Earth Dragon sank down by 3 inches and immediately shattered scales flew everywhere. Not to be outdone, the Earth Dragon counterattacked. Dragon Lizard Beast. Wang Tu recognized the demon beast that had appeared out of nowhere. Wasn't this the one from the Scarlet Swamp? It had clearly been killed already. Wang Tianlong used a secret technique to summon his mount. Chu Tian summoned the Dragon Lizard Beast. Now that the two super strong demon beasts were wildly fighting each other, neither side could gain the upper hand. The Earth Dragon was entangled by the Dragon Lizard Beast, so the two beasts would not be able to decide the victor for a while. The 18 divine blood corpses surrounded Wang Tianlong again. Chu Tian crossed his arms in front of his chest. "Heroic martial marquis, I think you've exhausted all your tricks. You can't break my array, just admit defeat." This surprised Chu Tian. Wang Tianlong was not as angry as he imagined, his expression did not even change. He just coldly stared at Chu Tian. "Do you really think you can restrain me with these corpses? Could it be that the heroic martial marquis still hasn't used his final move? I thought I wouldn't need to use this move to deal with you, but since your performance has surpassed my expectations, then I'll let you lose a bit more brilliantly." "Such big words." Chu Tian said this, but his heart was on guard. The great summer royal family's background was not this simple. If Wang Tianlong was really hiding something, then it would not be a small matter. Do you think your defense is very strong? Large amounts of spirit energy were released from Wang Tianlong's pores and 4-5 golden spirit energy flood dragons condensed around him. These flood dragons spun at a speed hard to see with the naked eye, almost forming a golden ball. I'll let you see what is called true defense today. This was Wang Tianlong's main cultivation technique. After fighting for so long, this was Wang Tianlong's first time using it. The refined ruler said with interest, the great summer royal family's dragon transformation body protecting technique can turn one's spirit energy into flood dragon energy. As long as one's spirit energy is not used up, one cannot be attacked by 100 soldiers and cannot be broken by 10,000 enemies. It could be called the great summer country's #1 defensive cultivation technique in the past. That's right. The burning sun ruler knit his brows. This is the great summer royal family's inherited cultivation technique. The reason Wang Tianlong was able to move through the Warhound Plains for 10 years was all because of this defensive and offensive cultivation technique. Chu Tian never thought this would happen. Wang Tianlong's cultivation technique focused on defense. Moreover, Wang Tianlong had clearly cultivated it to the perfection realm, so his defense could compare to the large success Starlight Immortal Body. In short, it was much stronger than the Diamond Body Starlight Immortal Body. But this cultivation technique was different from the Starlight Immortal Body. The Starlight Immortal Body released a layer of starlight, and when it received an attack, it would immediately counteract the damage. When the starlight was destroyed, the spirit energy in the body would automatically seep out and repair the damage. But if the consumption rate surpassed the repair rate, the Starlight Immortal Body could be broken. Wang Tianlong's cultivation technique released most of the spirit energy in his body in one breath, creating a layer of defense. This layer of defense was a one-time defense made of pure spirit energy, without any repair, but the effect was even more overbearing and the defense was very strong. When Wang Tianlong used this technique, those under the true spirit realm could not break it. This cultivation technique was not only strong in defense, it also had a strong attack power. Anything that came close would be torn apart by the flood dragon energy. Of course, every cultivation technique had a weakness. The weakness of this cultivation technique was that it consumed too much energy at one time. In terms of defense, this cultivation technique was not inferior to the Starlight Immortal Body. This kind of defense consumed too much energy, while the Starlight Immortal Body consumed less energy. Secondly, the Starlight Immortal Body was not just a defensive cultivation technique, it was also a body-nourishing cultivation technique. It could stabilize a cultivator's foundation and build their physique, which far surpassed the value of defense. It couldn't be said that this cultivation technique could compare to the Starlight Immortal Body just based on defense. Let me try. Chu Tian controlled 4-5 Yin corpses to surround him. In the end, when the Yin corpses came close, before they could even touch the flood dragon energy barrier, it was like they had been clawed by a flood dragon and were instantly sent flying several meters away. Such a fierce strength. Even if a 9th awakened soul layer cultivator was hit, they would still be heavily injured. The great summer royal family's inherited cultivation technique was truly an overbearing and powerful cultivation technique. Meng Yingying's heart palpitated a bit when she saw this. This cultivation technique seems to be even stronger than our Starlight Immortal Body. What should we do? If Chu Tian can't break this defense, won't he lose for sure? Meng Qinggu and Nangang Yun were also very anxious. The Yin corpses did not even have time to move before they were sent flying. The Yin corpse's large array was already paralyzed. A long dragon spear condensed in Wang Tianlong's hand and he sent the last 3 Yin corpses flying, stabbing it at the exposed Chu Tian. This is bad. The little fox's dragon lizard beast was fighting with the earth dragon beast and the Yin corpses had all been defeated. How could Chu Tian block this attack? The distance between the two sides was already less than 10 feet. The last Yin corpse blocked in front of him, but it was still easily sent flying. Wang Tianlong could close this distance in an instant, so there was no time for Chu Tian to react. The calm martial ruler prepared to make a move when he saw this. Winning or losing was not important, at least he had to ensure Chu Tian's safety. Who would have thought that at this moment? Chu Tian suddenly pulled out two strange-looking submachine guns. Have a taste of this. Two. The sound of the bullets fired from the source energy submachine guns was different from normal. The sound was small and sharp, but it was a real bullet. A large amount of dark red needles flew out like a storm. Wang Tianlong felt that the speed and power of the needles were not high, so he gave a cold laugh. You want to injure me with such weak attacks? He didn't even finish speaking. These small red needles passed through his defenses and landed on Wang Tianlong's body. Most of them were sent flying by his armor, but there were a few that hit the gaps in his armor, his neck, his face, etc., instantly turning Wang Tianlong into a porcupine. Ah! Wang Tianlong gave a pitiful cry as he took a few steps back. His cultivation technique instantly collapsed and a wave of numbness spread through his body, almost making him lose consciousness. Chu Tian raised his sword and stomped his feet into the air, sending out a burning rage. That bright sword glow sent Wang Tianlong into the air and the sword glow tore through his armor. Before it could fall, the 18 Yin corpses surrounded him. How could Wang Tianlong have time to block? Peng, peng, peng. Several dozen attacks came one after the other. The 18 Yin corpses surrounded Wang Tianlong and stomped him into the ground. Wang Tianlong already did not have the strength to fight back. There was no longer any suspense when the battle reached this point. Chu Tian sheathed his sword and his face was filled with disdain. With this kind of skill, you want to fight me? In your next life. Chapter 312. This gun's design was completely different from normal source energy submachine guns. It used a special magazine to shoot bullets and the muzzle looked like it was sealed, but there were several small holes. Each hole could shoot blood-in steel needles at a very fast speed. These needles could ignore an awakened soul cultivator's protective spirit energy, so they could directly penetrate their defenses. Each needle had been personally processed by Chu Tian. Not only were these needles incomparably sharp, they had also been refined with the snake scorpion beast king's poison, so they could instantly paralyze the enemy. Stop! The calm martial ruler raised his hand. A giant blood-red sword fell from the clouds and stabbed into the ground around Wang Tianlong. The surrounding Yin corpses seemed to be repelled by a force field, being blocked 10 meters away, not being able to take even half a step forward. The calm martial ruler grabbed the air and Wang Tianlong was sent in front of him. The outcome of this battle had been decided, there was no need to fight anymore. Chu Tian wins. Chu Tian gave a few loud laughs. Thanks for letting me win, thanks for letting me win. The heroic martial marquis. Oh, no, according to the agreement, you should be stripped of your title and I should be calling you Young Commander Wang. Many thanks for Young Commander Wang's mercy. Wang Tianlong almost fainted on the spot. Ha, ha, ha. Nangong Yun laughed as she shouted, your young commander personally agreed to this bet, with the 3 rulers and his majesty as witnesses. The Wang family won't go back on their words, right? The faces of the Wang family members turned darker. The Marquis title and Marquis title happened on the same day. The heroic martial Marquis title had been taken away in less than half a day. This was enough to become a laughingstock in southern Xia. Regardless of whether it was to Wang Tianlong or to the Wang family, it was a great humiliation. Moreover, it was a humiliation that could never be washed away. The Southern Summer King's expression was not good. He had been bestowed the heroic martial Marquis title to suppress Chu Tian's arrogance, letting Chu Tian not be in the limelight anymore. But in the end, the heroic martial Marquis had been taken down in less than a day. With Chu Tian stepping on the heroic martial Marquis body, his reputation would go up another level. Who would be able to suppress his aura? But this person was unruly and could not be controlled by the Southern Summer King. If he grew up in the future, wouldn't he be an existence that could shake the royal power? The refined ruler could clearly guess the southern Summer King's thoughts. The heroic martial marquis defeat was not because of his strength, but rather because he underestimated his opponent. Chu Tian's victory was not a victory of strength, but of external assistance. The heroic martial marquis had many military merits, and the Wang family was a famous family in the southern Summer country. Directly stripping him of his title, this ruler does not think it is appropriate. I suggest that we take back the conferment letter first and leave it for the heroic martial marquis to reflect on his actions. The conferment can only be done after a month. The refined lord's thoughts coincide with mine. The southern Summer King said in a lecturing tone, General Wang should properly think about this. As a veteran general, how can you underestimate the enemy? Take this as a lesson to you. Wang Tianlong hurriedly knelt down and kowtowed. My king is right. The people around Chu Tian were dissatisfied. This fellow had clearly promised to become a marquis, so why was he going back on his word now? But regarding the southern Summer King's idea, not only did the calm martial ruler and the burning sun ruler not object, even the great scholar silently agreed. The conferment of a marquis was not a small matter. How could it be reduced so quickly? Not only would this cause a stir in the court, the Wang family was very important in Imperial City. They were the descendants of the old royal family and had a very long history. They had many military merits in the last 10 years, so if they were to deny the Wang family's contributions just because of a single bet, wouldn't the southern Summer King be a heartless person? It was impossible to reduce his marquis title, but he could at most postpone it. This could be considered giving an explanation to miracle commerce and giving face to Chu Tian. Today's battle has opened this king's eyes. Scholar Chu is truly a miraculous youth. 10 soul weapons, 10 sacred herbs, and 10,000 gold coins will be rewarded. Whether Chu Tian was satisfied with this result or not, the southern Summer King had already made his decision and it was impossible to change it, so he had to accept it even if he didn't want to. The three rulers agreed with this decision. Now that things had reached this point, they could only do this. When the commotion caused by the duel had yet to dissipate, a sharp whistling sound came from the sky as a griffin rider quickly flew through the sky. A rider jumped off the back of the griffin and ran in front of the southern Summer King with an anxious expression. He suddenly knelt down on one knee, reporting to my king, "This is an urgent military matter." The southern Summer King immediately stood up. "Speak." The griffin rider presented a booklet with both hands. The scouts from the front lines have reported that the warhounds seem to be gathering a large army and are moving towards the border of Tsang State. This is very suspicious. I asked the king to make a decision. The southern Summer King hesitated for a bit. What do you think? The refined ruler knit his brows and said, "From the warhounds' movements, it seems like they want to directly attack Tsang State City. We should strengthen Tsang State City's defenses. Otherwise, once Tsang State City falls, Imperial City will be isolated in the north and will be restricted everywhere." This ruler does not think so. Tsang State City is tall and deep, so if the warhounds are not united, they will not be able to capture Tsang State City. From the current traces, this is a large group of light cavalry. Although the scale is larger than the previous invasions, it doesn't seem like they are going to attack a stronghold. The calm martial ruler was silent for a while. This ruler suspects that Tsang State City is a cover and their true target is the Tsang State farms. With these words, their bodies trembled. The Tsang State farms were very important to southern Xia. The mounts of southern Xia's several 100,000 cavalry were all produced in Tsang State. If the farms were attacked by the warhounds, then southern Xia's production of mounts would plummet. The cavalry would decrease and they would not be able to compete with the warhounds in the prairies. This method of removing firewood from under the cauldron was extremely ruthless. The southern Summer King revealed a trace of anger. The frontline troops have just been reduced and the warhounds are already impatient to make a move. They are truly in a rush. This matter is not simple. The calm martial ruler revealed a trace of worry. The warhounds' planes has not launched a strategic attack on southern Summer in many years. The so-called strategic military strike referred to a premeditated and planned invasion. In the last several years, the war hounds had charged in many times, but they had only taken one and left. The meaning of this invasion was completely different from the past. Whether it was the war hounds attacking the horse farms or Tsang State City, their goal was to cut off one of southern Xia's important supply points. The imperial region was the heart of southern Xia, so it was very hard to attack. With the three rulers and the southern Summer King guarding it, whether it was cavalry or infantry, they made up a third of the country. There were several famous elite armies in the imperial region, and 80% of southern Xia's fighting strength was gathered in the imperial region. This was the result of the kingdom's several decades of recovery. Attacking the imperial region was impossible. They could only attack the neighboring Tsang state. In comparison, the Warhounds tribe's last generation Fang king had fallen, and they had been in internal strife for the last few decades. The various tribes were fighting against each other, so their overall strength could not compare to the Warhounds' kingdom. Not to mention the scattered Warhounds, even if they were united, the Warhounds' planes' combined strength would not be able to break through Imperial City in a year and a half. The best method was to use a long-term strategy. Encroaching on Tsang State and isolating the Imperial region, then they would begin a long-term battle plan. So attacking Tsang State was the first step of the strategy. Of course, the Southern Summer King and the three rulers were not worried. This was actually very hard to accomplish. Although Southern Xia suffered many internal disasters, the country was still relatively stable. The Warhounds tribe had a low social structure, so it was destined to be a long-term chaotic country. Even if they occasionally united, it would only be a flash in the pan. This long-term strategy was not suitable for a country with a chaotic political situation. Even if the Warhounds' cavalry succeeded, they would only be able to temporarily cut off Southern Xia's strength and stop Southern Xia from advancing north. They would not be able to deal a fundamental blow to Southern Xia, not to mention a crisis of exterminating the country. This is good. The Southern Summer King quickly considered the situation and immediately patted the railing in front of him. This king has called back many generals to plan an attack on the Warhounds. The Warhounds are nomadic tribes, and although we have the refined ruler's information, it is not easy to find them in the vast prairies. This time they have taken the initiative to send a large amount of cavalry to our territory. This king will gladly accept this large piece of meat. Your Majesty. When Wang Tianlong heard this, he immediately knelt down on one knee. The Battle Dragon army requests to go out to battle. General is currently injured, so you should properly recuperate first. Not to mention that the ones being transferred back are the elites of the Battle Dragon army. The main force of the army is on the front lines and cannot be moved for now. You won't have any soldiers to send to Tsang State. Wang Tianlong said, why does this general need to be restricted in leading troops? With the normal main force working with the Battle Dragon army's elites, I think it will be enough to destroy the Warhounds' cavalry. As for this general's injuries, they are not worth mentioning. Ha, ha, ha. General is eager to gain merit, this king can understand. The Southern Summer Army's northern expedition is imminent, there will be many chances to gain merit in the future. The Southern Summer King still did not agree with Wang Tianlong going out to battle. This battle must be fought beautifully and raise the prestige of our Southern Summer country. Only then can we begin the northern expedition. So, for this battle, to be safe, it is best to have the calm martial ruler personally lead the army. Wang Tianlong was not convinced at all. Once the Southern Summer King said that the calm martial ruler would personally lead the army, he had nothing to say. In the entire Southern Summer, who had more authority than the calm martial ruler? Not to mention that the calm martial ruler was a true spirit expert with a high cultivation base that surpassed the Southern Summer country, there was no one that could match him. If he personally led the army, he would not even need to fight, and just his reputation would be enough to scare the Warhounds mobs to the point of pissing their pants. The three rulers will follow this king back to the palace and will come up with a proper strategy. The Southern Summer King said to the others, you can all disperse. The Southern Summer King and the three rulers left. Chu Tian led his people back to the company. On the way back, everyone was depressed and he felt very puzzled, so he asked, what are you all worried about? That fellow has already been taught a lesson, so forget about the Marquis. The Southern Summer King is ambitious and is wholeheartedly preparing for the northern expedition. Even if he is stupid, he wouldn't offend a general at this time. We aren't thinking about this. Meng Yingying looked up at Chu Tian with a pair of bright eyes. Southern Xia is about to fight. So what? Nangong Yun cut in and said, aren't you worried at all? The opponent is the Warhounds tribe. They have been suppressing Southern Xia for several hundred years. War, it was always a heavy topic. Unless one was an ambitious person, there were not many people who liked to fight. Not to mention the fact that the opponent was this strong. The Warhounds tribe had always been the nemesis of the southern summer country. Chu Tian scratched his head. Actually, he had only been in Imperial City for a few days, so he was not familiar with the streets. He did not know how many cities there were in the Imperial region, and he did not know anything about the world to the north of the Imperial region. How many tribes did the Warhounds tribe have? Their population, strength, weapons, and level of civilization were all unclear, so Chu Tian did not know if starting a war was a good or bad thing. You're all worrying too much. Chu Tian comforted everyone. The Southern Summer King and the three rulers are not normal people. They have studied the Warhounds plains very thoroughly. Since the four of them have no objections this time, it means we can fight this war. Southern Xia had been recuperating for several decades and now had enough military strength. The most important thing was that Southern Xia was different from anything else. Now that Southern Xia had established a source energy weapon factory, they would be able to use weapons that surpassed the current era. Once these weapons were used in the army, not to mention the Warhounds already collapsing, even the Warhounds at their peak would not be able to resist. Technology was enough to make up for the difference in strength. Meng Qingguo gave a slight nod. War is a disaster and also an opportunity. At least the Southern Summer King has use for us, so he won't do anything to us. We can use this time to properly develop. Meng Yingying suddenly said to Chu Tian, speaking of this, Chu Tian, you won't be fighting, right? Why are you asking this? Chu Tian was very puzzled. I don't understand the art of war and I don't understand the weapons of this era. I don't even know the structure of the Southern Xia army. Do you think you can lead an army as a single person? Although I am a peerless genius, you can't expect me to know everything. If you don't know how to fight, then just say it. Why are you finding excuses? Meng Yingying let out a sigh of relief. Then I can be assured. What was this girl's brain thinking? She was looking down on me. Chapter 313. The news of the Warhounds tribe's large-scale invasion was further confirmed, and the scale far surpassed people's expectations. There were around 400,000 Warhounds cavalry gathered on the prairies, flooding Tsang State like a flood. Now, he was basically certain. The Warhounds were prepared to attack the Tsang State plains. 400,000 Warhounds cavalry, this was a terrifying number. The Warhounds plains were very vast and the spirit beasts were very strong, but the Warhounds did not have a lot of people, only around a third of Southern Xia. There were three main reasons for this. First, their technological production capacity was low, and they mainly relied on hunting for food. If a plague or disaster broke out, it would immediately cause a large number of people to die. Second, the living environment was very cruel. Each spirit beast had to endure a cruel life from birth, fighting each other for resources and challenging fierce demon beasts to hunt. Out of 10 Warhounds children, only one would live to grow up. Third, there were many internal conflicts. There were several hundred tribes in the Warhounds plains, with several dozen large tribes. The tribes often fought with each other, with the large tribes swallowing the small tribes. The small tribes fought for water and hunting grounds, while the large tribes fought for the title of Fang King. In short, there were all kinds of reasons to fight. The cruel struggle for survival reduced the Warhounds' population, but those that survived were all brave warriors. The normal southern summer troops were no different from chickens under the Warhounds' cavalry, only the most elite cavalry had the qualifications to fight against the Warhounds. An army of 400,000 was not a large number, but their combat strength was extremely terrifying. This time, the Warhound's commander's mind was clear. At least he knew how to avoid the strong and attack the weak, so he did not choose to attack the Imperial Region's fortress and chose to attack Tsang State's fortress. Tsang State City could not block this kind of army, so the 400,000 Warhounds cavalry killing their way into Tsang State was a matter that was set in stone. Even if the Imperial Region sent reinforcements, it was better than fighting the Imperial Region's elites in their own territory. The Southern Summer King did not hide any information from the citizens. When the Warhounds' army's size and movements were confirmed, they were immediately announced to the entire city. Royal City was shocked. 400,000 cavalry was a large lineup for the Warhounds. This was because the Warhounds were not good at growing and storing food. Adding in the several decades of war, it was hard for them to support a large army on a long expedition. 400,000 cavalry. How much would it take for a human to eat a horse? The Warhounds' plains did not have any food, so why would they send out an army of 400,000 to attack Southern Summer? It was hard to understand. They were about to starve to death. Did they think they could take down Southern Xia? The Imperial City people's mentality was quite high. Perhaps it was because they were used to seeing the Warhounds attack. Although there were a lot of them this time, they were only a bit surprised and were not too worried. With the three rulers, Imperial City was as stable as a rock and Tsang State was not weak. The Tsang State army was the head of the 8 states and adding in the reinforcements sent by Imperial City, with a fierce pincer attack, no matter what the Warhounds' army's goal was, they would return without any results. Southern Xia had plenty of grain, Warhounds, hounds, the plains' territory, could. Southern of the war troops. Plains. The Southern Xia's kings. The Southern Kings. The first was the trump card army that had been withdrawn 2 days ago. They all returned to the frontline fortress and entered a battle state, preventing the Warhounds from attacking the Imperial Region. The second was for the calm martial ruler to personally lead the army, leading 200,000 storm cavalry to intercept the Warhounds in Tsang State. They would cooperate with Tsang State's 200,000 elites to destroy the Warhounds. The third was for the entire country to prepare for war, buying large amounts of grain, metal, leather, as well as military equipment. They would hire large amounts of money to send troops from the south to the north. With the 3 royal proclamations, the confidence of the citizens increased. The Southern Summer King reacted very quickly and made preparations. The Warhounds would not be able to take advantage of this, so they were just waiting for the calm martial ruler to teach the Warhounds cavalry a lesson. On the same day, the army set off. The million citizens of Imperial City sent them off. On the plains outside the city, there were countless cavalry ready to set off. Looking at the dense amount, it was enough to shock people's hearts. They wore the same green armor and led their green storm foals. It was as if they had become one with the grassland. They raised their sharp spears high up in the air and looked like dense weeds fighting to be the first to drill out of the ground. Their roars were like landslides and tsunamis. Victory! 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 The storm cavalry was the main force of cavalry in Southern Xia. There were storm cavalry stationed in each state, but there were less than 3,000 cavalry in each state. As for the battle strength of the storm cavalry, Chu Tian and the others had already seen it in Thunder State. There were over 100,000 storm cavalry now. If they charged forward, they would turn into a hurricane on the plains of Tsang State. Wherever they went, not a single piece of armor remained and all the strong enemies would be instantly destroyed. The Southern Summer King personally sent them off. This kind of scene had not appeared in Southern Xia for many years. The commander this time was the guardian god of the Southern Xia citizens, the head of the 3 rulers, the calm martial ruler. The calm martial ruler had always been invincible. In the several decades he had been guarding the Southern Summer Country, the Warhounds had never broken through the Imperial Region's borders. There was no one in the entire country more suited to lead this war than the calm martial ruler. Wang Tianlong and the departing Flame Marquis were all famous generals, but they were only good at setting up formations. For this kind of large-scale battle, they needed a veteran with more experience and strength to lead them. This is the Southern Summer Country's king's sword. The Southern Summer King raised up a sword filled with a majestic aura. In Sung state, the ruler has the same authority as the Southern Summer King with this sword. There is no need to report any arrangements, and anyone who dares not obey or delay, from the Tsang Yun Marquis to the soldiers, the ruler can kill them first and report later. The king's sword was not just a divine weapon, it also represented the supreme authority of the king. The Southern Summer King even gave the king's sword to the calm martial ruler. This was enough to show how important this battle was and how much trust he had in the calm martial ruler. "Thank you, my king." The calm martial ruler held the king's sword with both hands and stood there like a statue. "Calm martial ruler, you are the strongest person in Southern Xia and the most outstanding commander in Southern Xia. I believe that with you as the commander, a trivial mob of several 100,000 will not be a problem." The Southern Summer King's voice was filled with power, as if it was filled with confidence. "When you return in victory, we'll decide on a plan to pacify the Warhound's plains in one fell swoop and return our great Xia's magnificent mountains and rivers." These words made everyone's blood boil. The Southern Xia people always wanted to attack the Warhounds from afar, taking back half of the great summer country and driving the damn Warhounds out of the plains. The Southern Summer King seemed to be planning on attacking the Warhounds, so how could they not be excited? The Southern Summer King personally lifted up a jar of wine. This king sends off the Southern Summer soldiers. The Burning Sun ruler and the Refined ruler raised their bowls of wine on both sides of the platform, paying their respects to the Southern Xia cavalry. The 200,000 soldiers were all filled with excitement as they drank the wine in one gulp. They threw it high up in the air and jumped onto their horses at the same time, creating a strong impact. The great summer country is invincible. The Southern Summer King shouted, "Make contributions and return in victory." The calm martial ruler rode a golden griffin, and that handsome griffin flew into the air, instantly reaching its peak speed. It flew over the heads of the cavalry with an unimaginable speed, instantly arriving on the other side. The calm martial ruler's deep and solemn voice fell down from the clouds, "Everyone, move out. Victory! Victory! Victory for the calm martial ruler." The millions of citizens of Imperial City all shouted out together. The calm martial ruler led the cavalry army out. This battle was very important to Southern Xia. Although it was a battle rarely seen in decades, it came at the right time. It was the starting point for the ambitions of this generation's Southern Summer King and the three rulers. The first generation Southern Summer King was a great strategist, setting the capital on the plains and overlooking the Warhound's plains. Many generations of Southern Summer Kings dreamed of taking back the great summer country, but they never had the strength to do so. Now a once-in-a-100-year opportunity was right in front of them. The Warhounds had been in internal strife for many years and were very weak. Southern Xia had been storing up energy for several decades, having enough troops and generals like clouds. They even had a genius like Chu Tian, creating the source energy weapon that changed history. This was a very good chance. Southern Xia would definitely be able to make a comeback. Chu Tian said to the people beside him, "The Southern Summer King has left, we should also go back." Meng Qinggu slightly knit her brows and revealed a look of worry. Although the calm martial ruler is personally leading the troops, the Warhound's invasion this time is not a small matter. After all, this is the first true invasion in several decades, so I'm afraid it will be different from the normal plundering troops. Both sides are evenly matched, and although the Southern Summer Country has the advantage in defense and supplies, the Warhounds are fierce and have more experts than the Southern Summer Country, so this battle will not be easy. We don't understand military matters, so we can only believe in the calm martial ruler. Chu Tian was not worried at all. Even if they did not win this battle, the worst result would be losing the horse farm and losing Southern Xia's elite cavalry, causing Southern Xia to temporarily lose the ability to attack the north. The imperial region would not fall. The Southern Summer King was not a fool, he had already made preparations. The warhounds would not be able to sneak in, and even if the warhounds stopped fighting, it would be hard for them to attack Imperial City. The Imperial region had lost a fast attack force, but the other forces were still there. With the three rulers, the Southern Summer King, and the Source Energy weapon, there was no problem in protecting themselves. Instead of worrying about the calm martial ruler losing, it was better to worry that after the calm martial ruler left Imperial City, Chu Tian would lose a large backer. He had to be more careful in case someone made a move against him. However, when he returned to the Miracle Commerce headquarters, there was a piece of good news. Feng Kai-dai and Yunyao had come to Imperial City. Chu Tian excitedly led everyone out to welcome them. After 2-3 months, the two of them had lost a lot of weight, but their faces were glowing. Feng Kai-dai was as gentle as the clouds and Yunyao was as sharp as lightning. The two of them had left the army for several months, but their strength had not slowed down at all. Although they could not compare to Chu Tian and Nan Gongyun, they were still at the same level as Meng Yingying and Meng Qingguo. Both of them were in the peak 5th awakened soul layer. Big sister Kai-dai, big sister Yunyao, you're finally here. Meng Yingying cheered as she gave the two of them a hug. There are many things that have happened in Imperial City these past few days. I'll carefully tell you all about it. There's no rush in telling these things later. Chu Tian pulled Yingying to the side and asked the two of them, have those things been done already? Yunyao and Feng Kai-dai both nodded. Feng Kai-dai replied with a smile, we haven't disgraced the mission. We've gone to the 7 southern states and each state has at least 5 large cities covered by the signal. This time we've gone north to build a network for Tsang State and the Imperial region. Good, good. Everyone was pleasantly surprised. Miracle Commerce had planned for a long time and had finally completed the initial construction. Now the Central State radio station could cover the 7 southern states and Miracle Commerce's communication devices could connect states. This was a milestone in Miracle Commerce's development and a milestone in the continent's development. Chapter 314. Miracle Commerce's Imperial City Research Institute was mobilized. In just a short 3 days, they had built an ultra-wave audio transmission system in Imperial City. On the same day, Chu Tian, Meng Qingguo, the two chairmen, Nan Gongyun, Meng Yingying, and the other executives, as well as Gu Qianqiu, Zhao Pu, and several other core researchers, all gathered in a small laboratory. Gu Qianqiu was a bit impatient as he rubbed his hands. Can we start now? Including Zhao Pu, every scholar was very excited. No matter who participated in this meaningful test, it was enough to bring glory to their ancestors and leave their name in history. So, how could these old scholars not be excited? Not everyone had this chance, even those famous scholars of the empires were the same. Chu Tian looked at the time, it's about time, let's start the test. Meng Qingguo walked in front of a brand new radio. This radio was currently turned off. When Meng Qingguo personally turned it on, there was a burst of noise that gradually became clearer. They were now listening to the content of the Imperial City radio station. Begin changing the frequency. Meng Qingguo turned it to a very familiar frequency. There was an ear-piercing noise coming from the radio. They could faintly hear people talking, but it wasn't clear. It was clear that the reception was not good. Meng Qingguo was very patient as she adjusted it back and forth. Suddenly, the noise disappeared. A clear and sweet female voice came from inside. Hello everyone, welcome to Central State's noon news. I am the Central State radio station's anchor Xiaoling. Today's broadcast content is, everyone fell into a daze. As for what the anchor said, they didn't hear a single word. They only felt their blood rushing to their heads, causing them to collapse. Ha, ha, ha. We really succeeded. We can receive Central State's signal, we can receive Central State's voice. This group of old men were excited like they had been injected with chicken blood. Meng Yingying and Nan Gongyun happily hugged each other. Even the calm Meng Qingguo revealed a smile from the bottom of her heart. It really wasn't easy. It had been more than half a year since the establishment of Miracle Commerce. Although countless milestone inventions had been made, a truly historic step had been taken at this moment. This signified that Miracle Commerce had successfully built the continent's first information network. Central State City and Imperial City were separated by tens of thousands of miles, but people could directly receive it through the radio station. The sound from Central State could pass through the distant space and be steadily received by Imperial City. This set of intercontinental radio stations had already realized the most primitive form of the continent's informatization. The ancient and closed communication method of the continent for millions of years would be completely broken at this moment. The entire world would usher in an informational revolution because of Miracle Commerce. Meng Qinggu asked, "Should we announce it immediately?" "Nonsense. How can we not announce such a good thing?" Chu Tian hammered the table and said, "Quick, activate the local radio station and all the channels. We have to spread the good news." "All right." Miracle Commerce will open up a free interstate broadcasting service for customers, allowing everyone in Imperial City to hear the voice from Central State. Of course, it will also allow the people of Central State to hear the voice from Imperial City. Chu Tian did not have any thoughts of hiding it. After Miracle Commerce announced their latest achievement, it was no surprise that the entire Imperial City was filled with excitement. Miracle Commerce's radios and magnetic sound machines had a large increase in sales, running out of stock in a single day. The Southern Summer King was immediately alerted. The significance of this radio station was very significant in consolidating the king's rule. The Southern Summer King had come to Miracle Commerce to prepare a cooperation with Miracle Commerce, creating an official kingdom radio station that would represent the king's voice. When he arrived at Miracle Commerce, he heard another shocking piece of news. Miracle Commerce had developed a communication device that could communicate in real time. Miracle Commerce had been researching communication technology for a long time. This was not a secret in Miracle Commerce, especially in the Yun sect, but this was the first time outsiders had heard of it. At this moment, the Southern Summer Country finally recognized Miracle Commerce's skills. The appearance of the communication device had a greater significance and wider prospects. If they could grasp this invention, Miracle Commerce would instantly become a top company on the continent. Scholar Chu, Scholar Chu, you truly are a person skilled in creating miracles. The Southern Summer King was looking at Chu Tian like he was looking at a piece of fat meat. If he could obtain even 1% of Chu Tian's intelligence, the Southern Summer royal family would be stable for 1,000 years. This kind of super talent was born in Southern Xia. It made the Southern Summer King very excited, but it also gave the Southern Summer King a headache. In this era, strength was everything. The Southern Summer King could sit on the throne because of the Dongfang family's strength. It was all because of the Dongfang family's strength. If there was a power that quickly rose in the country and could even threaten the Dongfang family, what would the Southern Summer King do? Kill him. Now was not the time. Indulge him. He was afraid he would not be able to control it at that time. The Southern Summer King had always been afraid of Chu Tian, mainly because he was too outstanding. Chu Tian did not have any interest in the throne, but the Southern Summer King had a knot in his heart. No king wished for their country to have a power that could surpass them at any time. Even if this person did not have such thoughts, could they guarantee that the people by his side and his descendants would not have such thoughts? It was not important what would happen in the future. The Southern Summer King was anxious to see the current results. He personally came to Miracle Commerce to witness a miracle. Miracle Commerce chose the small square of the headquarters for the experiment. Several hundred Miracle Commerce employees, researchers, as well as the Southern Summer King, the Burning Sun ruler, and the Refined ruler, were all watching. Miracle Commerce used image transfer mirrors to broadcast this scene to various places in Imperial City. Let's begin. Chu Tian personally walked in front of the communication device and gave a number to it. There was a series of notifications coming from the communication device and the hearts of everyone present jumped up and down. Would it succeed? Could they really communicate in real time? This was a distance of tens of thousands of miles. There was the vast four states lake in between, as well as several thousand miles of mountains. No one had time to think before the notifications from the communication device disappeared. A faint noise came through the speakers, and then an old voice sounded, "Hello? This is the Central State Yun sect, this old man is Yun Tianhe. May I ask who you are?" Chu Tian gave a laugh. "Old Yun, it's been a long time since we last talked." "Chairman? Why is it you? Did Imperial City finish building the communication device this quickly?" Chu Tian chatted with Yun Tianhe. The entire process was very smooth and there was no noise at all. This scene once again shocked everyone. Everyone stood up and applauded. The Southern Summer King stood up and excitedly shouted, "Good! This is too good! This invention has a large significance to Southern Xia. Scholar Chu is truly a scholar of the country. Someone, give Scholar Chu 1,000,000 gold coins and promote him to a great scholar." A small country like the Southern Summer Country only had one great scholar title. But who cared about these details right now? With Chu Tian's contributions and inventions, not to mention a great scholar title, even a country scholar or a great country scholar would not be enough. From now on, Southern Xia had two great scholars. One was the 100-year-old Gu Qianqiu. The other was the less than 20-year-old Chu Tian. When the kingdom announced this news, everyone was shocked, but no one accused the Southern Summer King of breaking the rules. Chu Tian did not have Gu Qianqiu's fame and prestige, but everything he had done since he established miracle commerce was enough for him to receive the title of Great Scholar. When Chu Tian was in the limelight, there were some people quietly hiding in a dark corner watching everything. That night, a special guest came to the departing Flame Marquis Palace. Ever since the departing Flame Marquis' son Nangong Jian had been heavily injured, the departing Flame Marquis had not left the palace at all. No one knew what he had been doing recently. The Burning Sun ruler and the Southern Summer King had tried to pacify him several times, but it had no effect. It seemed like he still could not get rid of his hatred. The Southern Summer King and the Burning Sun ruler could do nothing about this. At this time, in the departing Flame Marquis room, there were several dim candles lit. He was dressed in red Taoist robes and was sitting on a praying mat. There was a screen in front of him, which made his figure look hazy. When his hoarse voice came out, it added a sense of depth and eeriness. "For the heroic martial Marquis to visit so late at night, I wonder what your intentions are." This guest was Wang Tianlong. It was unknown if the departing Flame Marquis was intentional or not, but when he heard the name Heroic Martial Marquis, Wang Tianlong's eyes flashed with a trace of anger. This was a glorious title, but it had become a shame that he wanted to wash away. Wang Tianlong did not explode. "The departing Flame Marquis knows my intentions, so why ask when you already know?" The departing Flame Marquis was silent for a full 5 seconds before saying, "For the great scholar Chu Tian?" Wang Tianlong softly said, "Yes, but not completely." The departing Flame Marquis gave a cold laugh. "Why is the heroic martial Marquis hiding it? If you cooperate with me, there is nothing to worry about with Chu Tian. You can leave." The departing Flame Marquis immediately lost interest. "The ruler has ordered that the Nangong family is not allowed to move against Chu Tian. This Marquis cannot go against the ruler's orders." Wang Tianlong said with a cold smile, "I don't believe that the departing Flame Marquis can swallow this. Think about your son, he is already crippled. He can forget about inheriting the title in this life. The departing Flame Marquis title will be broken. As for the ruler, the departing Flame Marquis shouldn't be counting on this. The Burning Sun ruler is old and not dead, and you are still far from breaking into the true spirit realm. In 10-20 years, Nangong Yun will surpass you and it is unknown who has the final say in the Nangong family." "Who?" A burst of killing intent erupted. The dim oil lamp began to flicker. The departing Flame Marquis voice became hoarse. "Before this Marquis makes a move, I'll say it again. Please leave." Wang Tianlong was not afraid of this killing intent. This is a once-in-a-lifetime chance. If the departing Flame Marquis does not grasp it, you will regret it. The departing flame Marquis killing intent became even thicker. Does the heroic martial Marquis not understand human speech, or do you want this Marquis to send you on your way? Alright, I'll leave. But before I leave, I want to tell you something interesting. This is something I heard on the Warhound's plains and I think many people will be interested in it. What do you want to say? Wang Tianlong calmly said in a relaxed voice, 10 years ago, there was a Marquis that shook the Warhound's plains. His light was limitless and he was undefeatable, making people revere him. One day, he was sent to the wrong place by the wrong information and his whereabouts were discovered by the enemy. After a bloody battle that lasted for a day and night, he was completely annihilated. The candlelight around them began to shake even more and the atmosphere in the room became even heavier. Wang Tianlong continued to say with a smile, the one who gave the wrong information was the same person, the Southern Summer Marquis blood-related little brother. Because of his jealousy, he killed his big brother, causing the Nangong family to lose an outstanding successor. Do you think anyone will believe this? What if the secret letter about him colluding with the Warhound's tribe is in my hands? The candlelight floated up and condensed into a small sword, instantly piercing through a barrier. Wang Tianlong stood in the same place without moving. His essence energy transformed into a flood dragon that broke out of his body and swallowed the small flame sword. The entire room fell into darkness. What are you panicking for? Wang Tianlong's voice suddenly turned cold. You want to kill me to silence me. This might be a good method, but the difference in strength between us is not that big. If I can escape, then the departing flame Marquis should think about how to face the burning sun ruler and the Southern Summer King. The darkness fell silent for a long time. The departing flame Marquis' deep and low voice rang out, tell me, how do you want to deal with Chu Tian? Wang Tianlong smiled, I've already said that this is not just to deal with Chu Tian. Let us have a good chat now. Pang! Countless sparks appeared in the darkness and each spark accurately landed on the candlesticks, illuminating this place. Chapter 3:15. Meng Qinggu walked in front of Chu Tian who was drinking tea. She held an image-transferring mirror in her hands as she reported, Central State has sent a video of their latest research, do you want to take a look? Is that so? Chu Tian took a sip of tea, just play it for me to take a look. Meng Qinggu opened the image-transferring mirror and the scene shown in the mirror was from the Central State City testing field. He saw several Yun sect scholars hitting a crystal ball the size of a head onto a catapult and the crystal ball was covered in runes and runes. This crystal ball attracted Chu Tian's attention because there was a glowing viscous liquid inside the crystal ball, which was clearly refined crude oil. Yun Tianhe gave a signal to start. The Yun sect scholars activated the crystal ball's source energy array and the crystal ball lit up. The originally stable crude oil began to boil, releasing large amounts of light and heat. The catapult quickly activated and the crystal ball was thrown out. Hong! The crystal ball landed 100 meters away and released a terrifying energy. These scholars were all affected and even the catapult used to throw the crystal ball was destroyed. The recording stopped here. Meng Qinggu closed the hidden image mirror. The Yun sect has not been idle these past few months. Now that they have developed a high-efficiency bomb using source energy batteries, if it can be used in the production of source energy weapons in the future, I think it will be very promising. Chu Tian curled his lips in disdain. What kind of invention is this? It's nothing more than a high-efficiency catalyst that can make the inert crystal oil become active again, using the instability of the crystal oil to create an explosion. The flaws of this bomb were very clear. First, the power and direction of the bomb's explosion could not be controlled. When the crystal ball exploded, the unstable crude oil would splash everywhere and explode, unable to form a fixed explosion area. Secondly, if the bomb could not be thrown out in time or if it was thrown out, it would cause a large amount of damage to one side. Chu Tian said to Meng Qinggu, I'll write a proposal and you can help me send it to Central State. When Miracle Commerce established the information transmission channel, this work became much smoother. The two Yun sect research facilities could exchange knowledge and quickly share research results, saving a lot of manpower and resources. When Meng Qinggu took Chu Tian's suggestions and prepared to leave, she suddenly thought of something. That's right, the first episode of the Southern Summer King's Great Summer Beacon has already been completed and we are preparing to release it in theaters. This time, the number of theaters in Imperial City has increased to 6 and Central State City has also begun to deploy. It is estimated that Miracle Commerce will increase to over 10 theaters this month. Then let's directly broadcast it. I think the Southern Summer King has been waiting for this for a long time. Meng Qinggu nodded and was about to do it. Meng Yingying rushed into the room. Do you know? There's great news. Meng Qinggu was surprised by her little sister's reaction. What news can make you this happy? Meng Yingying first ran in and drank the cup in Chu Tian's hand before excitedly saying, there's good news coming from Tsang State. Meng Qinggu and Chu Tian were both shocked. What kind of situation was this? The calm martial ruler had been away for less than a week. There was good news coming this quickly. The war hound's army was eating shit. Meng Yingying explained, this news came from the royal palace, so it shouldn't be wrong. The calm martial ruler is too strong, actually teaching the war hound's cavalry a fierce lesson as soon as he arrived in Tsang State. Chu Tian felt like he needed to understand more, so he prepared to find Gu Qianqiu to ask. Gu Qianqiu was a Southern Xia teacher, so he would definitely be more informed about the royal palace than them. Who would have thought that before Gu Qianqiu arrived, the Southern Summer King would send a messenger? The royal messenger brought a confident message to Miracle Commerce. Not only was it clearer than Meng Yingying's, it even described the entire process in detail. When the calm martial ruler led his cavalry to Tsang State, the warhound's cavalry had already begun their attack. They had captured 3 cities and their morale was high. Tsang State was in a panic and the situation at that time could be considered very dangerous. In the end, the calm martial ruler saw through the weakness of the warhound's cavalry with a single glance. The warhounds were not disciplined, so every time they captured a city, they would immediately kill and pillage, so a portion of their army was lagging behind. When they captured 3 cities, the army was already scattered, with the front and back being 100 miles apart. The calm martial ruler's storm cavalry was split into 3 groups. The first group of 50,000 cavalry acted as a reinforcement and attacked the main warhound's cavalry. The 50,000 cavalry could not touch the other side, so they fell into a disadvantage and ran away in defeat. When the warhound's cavalry saw this many southern summer elites, how could they let them go? In their eagerness to obtain merits, the 200,000 soldiers immediately chased after them. The other 200,000 cavalry did not arrive in time and the warhound's army was pulled apart, creating a situation where the front and back armies were separated. At this time, the calm martial ruler's second group of 100,000 cavalry split the front and back armies. The third group of 50,000 went behind the warhounds and launched a sneak attack while the warhounds' cavalry were advancing, cutting off their supplies in one fell swoop. Like this, a trivial 200,000 storm cavalry held back 400,000 warhounds' cavalry. The 3 layers of separation caused chaos in the front and back armies and supplies of the warhound's cavalry, making it hard for them to determine how many people Southern Xia had sent and they did not know which way to break through. While the calm martial ruler was making arrangements, he also ordered Tsang State's Tsang Yun Marquis to lead 200,000 Tsang State cavalry to the battlefield. They worked together with the Imperial City cavalry to attack the warhound's army in front of them. In this battle, they killed 80,000 of them and the rest of the cavalry were scattered, clearly unable to form an effective battle strength. The calm martial ruler was truly a veteran of the battlefield. The situation on the battlefield could change in an instant. To be able to accurately grasp opportunities, swiftly execute tactics, and control the troops, other than the calm martial ruler, there was no other general in Southern Xia that could do this. Now the Southern Summer Cavalry and Warhound's cavalry were fighting in Tsang State. Although there were still over 300,000 Warhound's cavalry, they were being controlled from the front and back, unable to advance or retreat, so Southern Xia had the advantage. Although the Warhound's cavalry were strong, they were too weak when it came to strategy, so they were just a motley crew. The Southern Summer King sent the royal envoy with a request. That was to have Miracle Commerce use the radio to spread the news throughout the country. This kind of victory was a good thing, so Chu Tian would not reject it, immediately announcing it to the entire country. This large victory was already set in stone and the confidence of the Southern Xia citizens increased. The Southern Summer King used this chance to announce the news of the northern expedition, which boosted the morale of countless Southern Xia citizens. At this time, Miracle Commerce did not miss this chance and released the Great Summer Beacon, made by the Southern Summer King. This was a movie about patriotism. It was filled with hot blood, dedication, and sacrifice. As expected, when the Great Xia Beacon was broadcasted, it immediately caused a sensation in the capital. The movie sponsors, such as the Flaming Rose Merchant Guild, saw their equipment sales skyrocket, and many mercenary groups began to order weapons from them in batches. The patriotism of the Southern Xia citizens soared and countless youths prepared to join the army, expanding their territory for Southern Xia. This was the result the Southern Summer King wanted to see. Now that Southern Xia's morale had reached its peak, as long as the calm martial ruler returned in triumph, Southern Xia would be able to lead the army north and embark on a road that had been dreamed of for several generations. In a few days. Another piece of good news came from Tsang State. The calm martial ruler won 3 battles, annihilating a total of over 100,000 enemies and only losing 10-20,000 people. The Southern Summer Cavalry had a strict offensive and defensive formation. The Warhounds cavalry had already been split up by the calm martial ruler's high-level tactics, so they could no longer gather their battle strength. If this trend continued and there were no more changes, in around 10 days, the calm martial ruler would be able to finish the battle. It was estimated that he would be able to annihilate at least 3/4 of the enemy's army. With these continuous reports, the one who was the happiest was naturally the Southern Summer King. That night, the Southern Summer King summoned Chu Tian and asked Chu Tian, "The calm martial ruler's victory has been decided and this king is preparing to launch a northern expedition. I wonder what you think about this. Strange. I don't know how to lead an army. Why are you asking me?" Chu Tian cupped his hands and said, "This little one does not know how to lead an army, but with the 3 rulers' help, this northern expedition will have a great chance. There are already several thousand source energy weapons in reserve, so I think they can be used to equip our soldiers. The Southern Summer Army's battle strength will increase by another level." The Southern Summer King said with a serious expression, "The source energy weapons are Southern Xia's secret, even the Burning Sun ruler and the Refined ruler do not know much about them. So, regarding the matter of the Imperial City Weapon Factory, you must keep it a secret. Don't reveal the trump card of Southern Xia too early. Understood? There is a matter that this king needs Miracle Commerce's help with." Chu Tian knew that the Southern Summer King would not see him for no reason. "Dare I ask what it is?" "Since Southern Xia is going on an expedition, information is very important. I want to build a communication system at the frontline fortress before the calm martial ruler returns. This way, Imperial City can exchange information with the other fortresses, greatly increasing the mobility and vitality of the Southern Summer Army." The Southern Summer King said this, "So I want to ask Miracle Commerce to make a trip." Of course, this king will not miss out on the reward. Chu Tian understood the Southern Summer King's meaning. The Southern Summer King wanted Miracle Commerce to arrange communication equipment at the frontline fortress. This way, the commander of the fortress could send information back to Imperial City and Imperial City could give orders or send reinforcements according to the situation. This changed the traditional method of communication and greatly increased the efficiency of the army. Opportunities were fleeting. If Imperial City could control information during a battle, it would have a decisive effect on the outcome of the battle. Could Chu Tian reject this request? The Southern Summer Country's battle with the Warhounds was related to the fate of the country. If the Southern Summer Country was defeated, the Warhounds would return. With the nest overturned, how could there be an intact egg? Chu Tian had to agree even if he didn't want to. The Southern Summer King was very happy, Alright, this king will be patrolling the border to raise the morale of the Southern Summer Army and prepare for the northern expedition. I'll personally escort you this time. The Southern Summer King would personally escort him. This was truly a large honor. Since the Southern Summer King gave Chu Tian face this time, Chu Tian did not raise any excessive conditions and agreed on the spot. Chapter 316. This kind of simple task did not require Chu Tian to personally go, sending Yun Yao and Feng Kaidai was enough. However, the Southern Summer King wanted to be safe, so he wanted Chu Tian to personally go. This was because the frontline communication station was related to the war, so there could not be a single mistake. After Meng Qinggu learned of the situation, she said to Chu Tian, "Normal companies are not allowed to approach the frontline fortress. This is a rare chance, so I'll go with you." Chu Tian was a bit surprised. "The young miss is also going?" Meng Qinggu said, "The frontline fortress is a large market, especially after the war. Food, military supplies, tools, and etc. There is a large demand from all sides. Miracle Commerce going ahead to prepare will help Miracle Commerce expand a step further and will also prepare for the war, creating a solid foundation for the war. After all, the war in southern Xia will have a large impact on us, so if we can contribute our strength, we will not hesitate." Saying this was reasonable. Then he would bring the young miss with him. Chu Tian would be responsible for supervising the construction of the communication station while the young miss would be responsible for inspecting the frontline market and discussing cooperation with the fortress army. There was no conflict in doing these two things together. But once Chu Tian and Meng Qinggu left, the two leaders of Miracle Commerce would not be here. Chu Tian was going with the king to inspect the frontline and the imperial tutor Gu Qianqiu would also be going. With the calm martial ruler out, wouldn't Miracle Commerce be isolated in Imperial City? Because he was afraid someone would stab them in the back, he did not bring Chen Bingyu or the 18 corpses to protect him. He was going with the king this time, with the great scholar accompanying him, and with the little fox as his bodyguard. Even if there was a sudden situation, Chu Tian would be able to deal with it. Southern Xia's frontline, there were a total of 5 fortresses and each one was heavily guarded, so their safety could be guaranteed. The Southern Summer King had a request for Chu Tian and Chu Tian would play an important role in the future. Although the Southern Summer King was narrow-minded, he would not make a move against Chu Tian. The next morning, the royal carriage moved, with 3 ninth awakened soul layer golden lions pulling it and 200 griffin knights protecting it. General Wang Tianlong was riding an earth dragon to lead the way, while Gu Qianqiu, Chu Tian, and the others followed behind, slowly heading north. This lineup was very shocking and the possibility of being assassinated was close to zero. Actually, no one dared to assassinate the Southern Summer King. Those who could sit in high positions in this era, even if they weren't the strongest in the group, they wouldn't be too weak. The Southern Summer King was a bit weaker than the calm martial ruler, but he was still a true spirit realm expert. He was not someone an ordinary person could resist. Who in Southern Xia had the ability to assassinate the Southern Summer King? But the Southern Summer King bringing Wang Tianlong with him was a bit out of Chu Tian's expectations. Although Chu Tian did not like this fellow, the Southern Summer King bringing him out of Imperial City was good for Miracle Commerce. At least he didn't need to worry that Miracle Commerce would be plotted against by the Wang family while he was gone. The prairie was 1,000 miles wide and there were no humans, only the occasional scout post. They did not meet any obstructions along the way and finally a black outline appeared on the horizon. They had finally arrived. This was the northern border of Southern Xia. Everyone could see the largest fortress of the 5 front lines in the distance. It was called the Iron Fortress and was commonly known as the Iron City. There were around 500,000 Southern Summer soldiers stationed here and this was the pillar of Southern Xia's resistance against the Warhound Plains. This Iron City seemed to have descended from the sky, but it also seemed to have jumped out of the ground, standing abruptly on the flat grassland. No matter which Southern Xia person it was, when they saw the Iron City for the first time, they would be shocked by its grandeur. The Iron City was not just a fortress in the wilderness. When the two walls of the Iron City converged, they suddenly shrank into one, finally extending over 100 kilometers in both directions. These walls were 50 meters tall and were made of solid rock. There was also a layer of iron armor on the surface that sparkled under the sunlight. It was like a barrier that covered the sky, making people feel intimidated. It was like a giant black monster spreading its arms to the left and right, wanting to embrace the entire prairie. How could this mountain-swallowing aura not make people fall over? This was the famous Southern Summer City Wall. The entire city wall was over 1,000 kilometers long, connecting the 5 frontline fortresses together. Each of the 5 fortresses was garrisoned with the departing Flame Corps and the Battle Dragon Army among them. The 5 frontline fortresses and the city wall formed a strong defense system, protecting the imperial region from the Warhounds tribe again and again. This great northern barrier was built by the first-generation Southern Summer King, using close to 1 million people. It was only completed by the third-generation Southern Summer King, consuming a large amount of manpower and resources, causing Southern Xia to be in a state of poverty for a long time. However, it was enough to prove that this was a very effective defensive project. Meng Qinggu was a bit stunned seeing this. This is too spectacular. This is the miracle created by Southern Xia. Southern Xia's northern Great Wall had been passed down by traveling poets, and Meng Qinggu had heard of this miracle many times. Now that she could personally see it, her life in Southern Xia was not in vain. The Griffin Knights brought Wang Shuxian into the fortress. When the king arrived in front of the fortress gates, a deep and powerful voice rang out, "Open the gates." Hong, dong, 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 dozens of thick black iron chains were pulled, and a huge metal drawbridge was slowly lowered, filling a deep and wide defensive trench. Then, a seamless iron door opened, and a few hundred cavalrymen rushed out. Each of them was wearing black armor, and each of them held a 3-meter-long lance. They quickly divided into 2 rows and surrounded the king's entourage. An old black-armored general with a white beard was leading several neat rows of soldiers, coming out of the fortress to welcome them. "Old soldier Dongfang Zhan greets your majesty." The black-armored general, the cavalry, the infantry, and even the archers on the walls, each person had the Dongfang family's insignia on their armor. It was clear that these were the Dongfang family's soldiers. For this old general to be sent to guard the most important fortress of Southern Xia, he must have a very high status in the Dongfang family. This old general called himself an old soldier, and his humble attitude made people look at him in a new light. Meng Qinggu was filled with respect. "This is old Marshal Dongfang Zhan." Chu Tian had never heard of this name before. "Is he very famous?" Meng Qinggu said, "The frontline Marshal Dongfang Zhan has been on the front lines for 50 years. Shen Fengho and the Golden Arrow Marquis have all listened to the old marshal's orders. Dongfang Zhan is also a peak 9th awakened soul layer expert, his military merits far surpassing any marquis. Then why hasn't he been granted the title of marquis? This is the most respectable aspect of the old marshal." Meng Qinggu said with a look of admiration, "The old marshal thinks that the Dongfang family already has enough honor, having the Southern Summer King and the Southern Summer First Ruler. The family's position is incomparably stable, so why add another marquis? It would be better to give up the marquis title and motivate the Southern Summer men to fight in the front lines. He would also be able to fight on the front lines without any land." This was the truth. Dongfang Zhan was the frontline marshal, only below the calm martial ruler. His position was incomparably respected, but he had never had a day of nobility. He had never enjoyed a happy life, never married, and had no children. He had dedicated most of his life to the Southern Summer country, guarding the Southern Summer border. He could be considered a model soldier. The calm martial ruler had once evaluated Dongfang Zhan, loyal and courageous to guard the Southern Summer country, wholeheartedly dedicated to the country, unparalleled in bravery, and outstanding in strategy. With such a good general falling from the heavens, why worry about the warhounds invading the border? This was the calm martial ruler's highest evaluation of a general. Dongfang Zhan was indeed worthy of this evaluation. Actually, Dongfang Zhan's seniority was higher than the calm martial rulers. He was the calm martial rulers and the Southern Summer King's uncle. Before he was bestowed the ruler title, the calm martial ruler had 10 years of experience on the front lines, learning tactics from Dongfang Zhan at that time. Dongfang Zhan was half a teacher to the calm martial ruler, but the student surpassed the master. After Dongfang Gan was bestowed the title of calm martial ruler, his position in the army surpassed Dongfang Zhan's. Dongfang Zhan did not have any complaints about this and followed the calm martial ruler's orders, becoming the calm martial ruler's most capable assistant. "Old general, please stand up." The Southern Summer King personally helped Dongfang Zhan up and said with a face full of guilt, "General has guarded the frontline fortress for many years, possessing great merits, and no one can compare to you. You have such a high position, but there has never been a day of nobility. This king has been ashamed of general ever since I inherited the throne, so how could I receive the old general's greeting?" Dongfang Zhan's old face turned dark. The king is the king and the general is the general. How could this old soldier dare be rude? The Southern Summer King could not do anything about his uncle's stubborn temper, so he could only change the topic. He turned around and introduced the Battle Dragon Army's young commander Wang Tianlong and the great scholar Gu Qianqiu. The old general is already very familiar with them. Wang Tianlong and Gu Qianqiu cupped their hands. Dongfang Zhan also bowed to Gu Qianqiu when he saw him, but he did not say anything to Wang Tianlong. This strange scene did not escape Meng Qingguo and Chu Tian's eyes. This was a bit strange. Dongfang Zhan and Gu Qianqiu should have only met a few times, but Wang Tianlong was completely different. Wang Tianlong was the frontline army's vice commander and the Battle Dragon Army's young commander. After Dongfang Zhan abdicated, the one most likely to take over as the frontline army's commander was Wang Tianlong. Why did Dongfang Zhan ignore Wang Tianlong? Was there a conflict between the two of them? Dongfang Zhan's eyes fell onto Chu Tian's group and his two white brows tightly knit together. Who are these two? Forgive this old soldier for being rude, but the frontline fortress is not a place anyone can enter. Unrelated people cannot be allowed in. The old general's voice was filled with dissatisfaction. The Southern Summer King was inspecting the front lines in the name of inspecting, so there was nothing to say. The Southern Summer King would inspect the front lines every year. On one hand, it was to monitor the frontline defenses, and on the other hand, it was to reward the soldiers. It was to show that the kingdom had never forgotten them, raising the morale of the frontline soldiers. But did the Southern Summer King not know? The fortress was an important place. Unrelated people were not allowed in. The layout of the frontline fortress and the various fortifications were all secrets of the country. How could they be casually looked at by others? Now he had brought a group of people he did not recognize, especially the two people at the front. Chu Tian was simply too young, but what made Dongfang Zhan even more dissatisfied was that there was a woman in this group. It just so happened that this was a woman of outstanding beauty. The frontline fortress soldiers had hard days and many of them had not returned home for many years. If this kind of beauty appeared in this kind of place, it would cause a disturbance and it would lower their morale, even shaking their faith. This was something Dongfang Zhan could not tolerate. Chapter 317. Old General has misunderstood. The Southern Summer King laughed a few times. This king will introduce you. These two are Chu Tian and Meng Qingguo, the founders of Miracle Commerce. Speaking of Miracle Commerce, Old General should not be unfamiliar, right? Dongfang Zhan's white beard trembled. You are the founders of Miracle Commerce. Why did the Old General's attitude change 180 degrees? It was truly strange. Could it be that the Miracle Commerce brand was even popular on the border? Chu Tian did not know he was this famous. Dongfang Zhan took a step back and then gave a deep bow to the two of them. This made Meng Qingguo feel flattered. Why would a famous general of Southern Xia suddenly give such a bow? Our soldiers needed to carry large amounts of rations when they went to war. Not only was it very troublesome, they also ate dry rations for a long time. Even if they could fill their stomachs, it would be hard for them to replenish their energy and their battle strength would decrease over time. Dongfang Zhan said this and then said with a face of gratitude, now they only need to carry a few cans of food and the soldiers can fight for several days. Miracle Commerce's canned food has appeared on the front lines, greatly increasing the army's battle strength. This is truly a good invention that benefits the country and the people. So it was like this. No wonder his attitude had changed this much. But gratitude is gratitude, please forgive this old soldier for not being able to accommodate you. The old general's expression changed too quickly and became serious once again, unrelated people are not allowed in, this is the military rule. The Southern Summer King was angry and happy. He did not call him general and directly shouted, old uncle, do you think this king is such a senseless person? Since I brought these two people from 1,000 miles away to the fortress, this king naturally has his reasons. I'll let the great scholar explain it to you. Dongfang Zhan was a bit stunned. Could there really be another reason? Although Dongfang Zhan had not seen Gu Qianqiu many times, he was filled with admiration for the great scholar. He knew that the great scholar was a pillar of the country and had made an indelible contribution to the rise of southern Xia. Gu Qianqiu had no choice. Who told him to meet a stubborn old general, so he could only patiently explain, the general must have heard of the calm martial ruler's trip to Tsang State. Of course I have heard of it. The calm martial ruler is very experienced in using troops, how could the warhound scoundrels resist him? In less than 10 days, the calm martial ruler will return victoriously. My king thinks so too. When Gu Qianqiu said this, he suddenly changed the topic, the day the calm martial ruler returns in triumph, that will be the day your majesty leads the northern expedition against the war hounds. What? Northern war hounds? Dongfang Zhan seemed to have been injected with 10 doses of chicken blood. His originally dark and rough old face suddenly turned purple. Really? Could it be that the time was ripe? Although the warhounds' plains have internal strife, once there is enough external pressure, they will unite. Isn't it a bit too early to go on a northern expedition? The Southern Summer King gave a slight nod, with the current military strength of the country, it is indeed too early to attack the warhounds, but a variable has appeared in southern Xia and that is miracle commerce. Dongfang Zhan's heart surged with emotions. If the Southern Summer King had said he would attack the prairies 30 years ago, Dongfang Zhan would have stopped him because the country's strength was not enough to shake the prairies. Today, Southern Xia was becoming stronger and the calm martial ruler had been planning the northern expedition. This generation's Southern Summer King's counterattack against the warhounds was already a foregone conclusion, only the exact time was unknown. It could be 10 years later, or it could be 20 years later. This was Southern Xia's most experienced general, his potential had already reached its limit and he was slowly getting old. The greatest regret in his life was that he had been defending the warhounds' plains for 50 years, but he had never led an army to attack. There really wasn't much time left. Dongfang Zhan's greatest wish was to lead the army to the north. For an old Southern Summer general, there was no better ending than dying in the warhounds' plains. Now that such a good chance had appeared, how could Dongfang Zhan not be pleasantly surprised? Although every drop of blood in his body was filled with the desire to fight, this old general had experienced many things and fame had never been his goal. Perhaps he was not as strong as the calm martial ruler and did not have the calm martial ruler's military skills, but he had fought the warhounds' plains for 50 years, so he understood this mysterious prairie better than anyone else in southern Xia. The warhounds' plains had always been shrouded in a layer of fog, so no one could clearly see his strength. Southern Xia had indeed become stronger, but it was still a small country. The great summer country had been destroyed in the past. Was Southern Xia really prepared to counterattack? Gu Qianqiu was an experienced old man. When he saw Dongfang Zhan remain silent, he could guess the conflict in his heart. With a faint smile, he said, regarding miracle commerce, there are too many secrets, so there are some things that cannot be leaked right now. I think when the time is right, my king will naturally tell you. I'll simply tell you the goal of our trip. This secret was naturally the source energy weapons. This was the greatest confidence that Southern Xia had in starting the war early, but because it was an ultimate trump card, it could not be revealed right now. Without the Southern Summer King's permission, he could not say it. Gu Qianqiu cleared his throat and introduced it. Miracle Commerce has brought a new kind of technology to the front lines, a technology that can transmit information in real time. When Gu Qianqiu finished, Dongfang Zhan was completely stunned. Really? There was really such a magical technology in this world? If Miracle Commerce could really realize it, this technology would be a great help to the front lines. Not only would it greatly reduce the chances of losing a battle, it would also allow more soldiers to survive on the battlefield. Dongfang Zhan was very clear that this world did not have any so-called military strategy. Military strategy was to use the difference in time, information, and guessing the enemy's movements. This was a kind of art of war. If a rapid exchange of battlefield information could be established, every reconnaissance station and every wandering scout could report the intelligence to the frontline fortress at any time, and the frontline fortress could transmit the intelligence to the capital instantly. Then, a super-fast response information network would be established. This way, the chances of mistakes would be reduced to the lowest. Even the most incompetent general could control the situation. Miracle Commerce had brought canned food to the frontline soldiers, and now it had brought precious communication equipment. It was unknown how many lives these two things had saved. To Dongfang Zhan, who loved his soldiers like his own children, Chu Tian could only be described as great. Chu Tian said with a smile, "Old General, can we go in now? You have to know that if we are a second late, we will be a second late in completing the equipment." Dongfang Zhan was already filled with admiration towards Chu Tian. "Forgive this old soldier for offending you, please come in, please come in." The Iron City was not too big and it was very closed, only having 2 gates in front and back. On the left and right sides of the Iron City were battle paths. Because the city walls were 2 layers, there was a long path between the 2 layers. These paths allowed cavalry to pass through, allowing the 5 forts to connect together. The army quickly moved through the battle paths, fighting against the Warhound's cavalry attacking from different directions. The 5 great forts. The 1,000-mile Great Wall. 600,000 elite soldiers, forming a single fighting unit. Southern Xia had used several decades to complete this large project. It was truly using the power of the entire country. Chu Tian did not look around when he arrived at the Iron City, immediately arranging for Gu Qianqiu and the others to prepare. They began to build the magnetic sound tower, magnetic image tower, and ultra-wave transmission tower, these 3 pieces. Chu Tian also planned to build a special broadcasting station and loudspeaker, so they did not need to use the primitive method of the fire beacon. Dongfang Zhan could create a special communication unit that could send out detailed orders to the troops in different areas. They could even send out orders to the sentry posts and patrols. The troops that went out only needed a portable magnetic sound device, which was enough to receive the information from the base. After Dongfang Zhan learned of this series of wondrous uses, his beard almost fell off from his trembling. He immediately patted his chest and promised that if there was anything he could ask this old soldier, he would do his best to help him. Other than that, Dongfang Zhan gave Chu Tian a token. With this token in hand, no matter what Chu Tian did, no one would dare stop him. Night gradually fell. Miracle Commerce began to work. The Southern Summer King climbed up a watchtower by himself, looking into the north with a pair of bright eyes. The sky was filled with stars and the earth was dark, just like an endless ocean. Wild winds howled, as if it had not stopped for tens of thousands of years, singing the legends of this place. The Southern Summer King was filled with ambition. He admitted that he was not an outstanding king. But this did not stop him from becoming a great king. Whether it was the first-generation Southern Summer King with great talent or the previous kings with great military and political achievements, there had never been a person like him who was able to embrace this land. The dreams of countless generations of ancestors would be realized in this king's hands. Even if this king was mediocre and incompetent, he would still be remembered by history. The Southern Summer King became more and more excited. If he could single-handedly turn southern Xia back into the great summer country, how great of an achievement would that be? Dong Feng Hao's name would be sung by countless future generations. At least in this corner of the continent, he would become a legend of a generation. A gentle cough was heard at this time. The Southern Summer King's fantasy had been interrupted, so his heart was a bit dissatisfied. When he turned around to see the other side, this dissatisfaction disappeared and he said with a smile, "Old uncle, why are you looking for this king this late at night?" Dongfang Zhan's tall and old body slowly walked over. "This old soldier wants to give my king a piece of advice." The Southern Summer King was a bit stunned. "What matter is there that you have to say it in private?" Dongfang Zhan was silent for a few seconds. "I'm afraid Wang Tianlong cannot be used." "Ah." The Southern Summer King was very surprised. General Wang has many merits and the calm martial ruler has praised him. This king has already given him the title of heroic martial marquis, so why can't old uncle use him? Dongfang Zhan gave a sigh. The calm martial ruler is skilled in war, but not in human affairs. Moreover, the calm martial ruler is the commander-in-chief, so he does not have much contact with a young general like Wang Tianlong. This old soldier is different. Although my eyes are blurred, after 10 years, it is enough for me to see a person clearly. The Southern Summer King knit his brows. Wang Tianlong is the most talented general of the younger generation. He has a calm personality, is humble, and does not ask for credit. Could it be that he is not a good general? Dongfang Zhan said, "Not greedy for small benefits, he is either like this old soldier, not interested in these things, or he has a bigger ambition." This old soldier thinks Wang Tianlong belongs to the latter. Letting this kind of person with a deep heart be the frontline marshal, I'm afraid. The Southern Summer King waved his hand to cut him off. "Old uncle, do you have any proof?" "There is no proof." "Then after old uncle, who can be the frontline marshal?" "This is what I am worried about the most. There is no one in the younger generation of Southern Xia that can be the frontline marshal. But it is different now. With Chu Tian and Miracle Commerce's technical support, the frontline marshal does not need to be that talented." The Southern Summer King was already a bit dissatisfied. What kind of words was this? Could it be they were looking for a mediocre person to take over the Wall Army? This old general couldn't have gone senile with age, right? Dongfang Zhan could feel the Southern Summer King's dissatisfaction and immediately emphasized, "This old soldier is not a jealous person. If Wang Tianlong is really useful, this old soldier can immediately give up his position, only this person." The Southern Summer King laughed. All right, old uncle is thinking too much. General Wang has a calm personality, does not ask for credit, and is not arrogant. Although there is a gap between old uncle and him, he is still a good general. Now that Southern Xia needs people, how could this king not use them? As for the frontline marshal, old uncle is old and strong, holding it for another 10 years is not a problem, so you don't need to worry too much. Dongfang Zhan wanted to say something, but he hesitated. The Southern Summer King cut him off. "This king is a bit tired, so old uncle should rest early. Tomorrow, you will follow this king to inspect the fortress and reward the soldiers, raising morale. With the upcoming battle, we can talk about it later." After saying this, the Southern Summer King left. Chapter 318. In the next few days, the Southern Summer King began to patrol the border. The frontline fortress had a total of 600,000 soldiers, but there were only 100,000 cavalry. The soldiers stationed at the frontline fortress were all elites of Southern Xia. The Southern Summer King's personal patrol immediately caused the soldiers to cheer. The Southern Summer King was very generous this time, wantonly spending money, wine, and meat. He rewarded the soldiers of the various armies, raising the morale of the army and preparing for the northern expedition. Chu Tian and Meng Qinggu were busy with their work. The magnetic sound tower, magnetic image tower, and ultra-wave signal transmission tower would take a week to complete. This place was not far from Imperial City, so once the 3 towers were completed, the signal would instantly cover the area. Everyone was busy and the little fox was very bored, so it wandered around by itself. It quickly climbed to the top of the tallest watchtower in Iron City and sat on the steeple. It licked its fur, crossed its legs, and looked into the distance in boredom. The little fox felt that this place was too boring. There was nothing good to eat or fun to do, and it didn't know when its master would bring it back. It was a good thing it had stored enough food in its stomach. The little fox rubbed its belly and spat out a pill bottle that was filled with sacred pills. It lazily basked in the sun like this, as if it was eating jelly beans. It threw these hard-to-buy sacred pills into its mouth one by one, chewing and swallowing them, enjoying the small bourgeois life of a little fox. If this scene was seen by Chu Tian, he would definitely slap it. This was simply a waste of money. After the little fox finished the bottle of sacred pills, it was only half full, but it didn't plan on eating anymore. Its master hadn't provided it with food in a long time, and although it had a lot of food, it had to eat sparingly to avoid starving in the future. The little fox thought of something and spat out a round object. It held it in its paws and looked at it carefully. At first glance, it looked like a top-quality white jade ball. It was very smooth and round, and it emitted bursts of mysterious energy. When the little fox turned the jade ball over, a pitch-black pupil suddenly appeared in front of it, as if it was staring at it. The instant it released a powerful pressure, a normal life form's mind would collapse. This was an eyeball, or more accurately, the eyeball of an ancient god. The little fox had risked its life in the Central State Trial Tower to swallow it. The energy that the little fox had obtained in the past few months was rarely used on its own growth, most of it was used to refine it. This eyeball was originally several times the size of the little fox, but now it had shrunk to a third of the little fox's size. It was only 1 or 2 times the size of a human's eyeball. This damn eyeball had actually consumed this much energy. If it had used the energy on the little fox's growth, then it would have had the strength to instantly kill its master. I hope this thing works. The little fox held the eyeball high up and blew on it. The eyeball seemed to be controlled by an ancient demonic art as it instantly shot out, falling several dozen meters into the air. The little fox closed its eyes and let its divine sense connect to the eyeball. It saw the ancient god's originally scattered eyeball suddenly recover its vigor and its pupils regain their focus. When the little fox's divine sense entered the eyeball and was released from the eyeball, it was like sound going through a megaphone, instantly being amplified by over 10,000 times. Instantly, the entire iron fortress appeared in the little fox's mind. This was the god's view, or three-dimensional view. In simpler terms, it was the divine sense's view, which was not something the naked eye could compare to. The entire iron fortress complex structure appeared in the little fox's mind. Every secret room, every warehouse, every soldier, every nook and cranny. Everything was clear in its mind. The secret weapons in the secret rooms, the delicious food in the warehouses, the positions of the soldiers and secret sentries, and the spider weaving its web in a corner, everything was clearly seen by the little fox. The little fox revealed a grin. This eye was very useful. With it in the future, it wouldn't have to worry about not being able to find food. The little fox decided to test the divine eye's range again, so it aimed the eyeball towards the north. A divine sense was released, passing through several hundred miles and instantly landing on a certain spot in the prairie. The little fox found that the divine eye had a special characteristic. This eyeball was like a searchlight, being able to see several hundred miles away. The entire radius of its field of vision was illuminated. In other words, in this range, whether it was in front or behind, it was a blind spot. It could only change the area it illuminated to change the range of its field of vision. Other than that, the further it looked, the smaller the field of vision and the more blurry it was. For example, looking at the prairie several hundred miles away, whether it was the field of vision or the clarity, it was not as clear as looking at the iron fortress. This was most likely related to the strength of one's divine sense. The little fox's divine sense was not strong enough right now. If it could increase its divine sense's strength, even if it was 10,000 miles away, the little fox would be able to clearly see it. Easy to use. Not bad. The little fox was very satisfied with the divine eyes effect. It moved its field of vision and looked at the prairie. The birds and beasts on the prairie were all carefully observed by the little fox, but they did not notice it at all. The little fox played for a while and felt a bit tired, most likely because it had used too much divine sense. When it was about to put away the divine eye, suddenly, the little fox stood up. What is this thing? In the little fox's field of vision, there was a large group of things that suddenly appeared. It was like a black tide and the scale was very spectacular. There were giant rhinoceroses, giant elephants, and flags flying everywhere. Although the formation was very chaotic, the scale was very large. This is bad. The little fox put away its eye and turned into a cloud of gray mist. It moved like lightning several times and instantly appeared beside Chu Tian. It used its claws to pull at Chu Tian's clothes and it excitedly described the scene it had just seen to him. Meng Qinggu was beside Chu Tian and she rarely saw the little fox this anxious. What does it want to say? Chu Tian knit his brows and said in an uncertain voice, it said that it has discovered a large army that is currently charging in this direction. The Warhound's army? It should be. Are you sure you didn't see wrong? Chu Tian carefully asked the little fox again, how large is the enemy army? The little fox forcefully nodded and used its claws to draw a circle in front of it, indicating that it was very, very large. Then it pointed to the south, indicating that they should quickly run. Meng Qingwu's nerves tensed up. Chu Tian, what do you think? This little fellow isn't very reliable normally, but it wouldn't lie at a critical moment. Chu Tian's face turned serious. I'm afraid it's true. Meng Qingwu was shocked and nervous. This was completely unreasonable. The warhounds had already gathered an army of 400,000 to attack Tsang State. This army of 400,000 was already a difficult army for the warhounds' tribes. How could they send another army into the imperial region? It had to be known that the imperial region's defenses were several times stronger than Tsang State's, so it was very hard for the warhounds' army to pass through. Could it be that the warhounds had already been unified? But even if several large tribes united, it would still be very hard to pass through this wall. If they attacked Tsang State with 400,000 soldiers, how many soldiers could they gather to attack the imperial region? Moreover, since they were going to attack the imperial region, why did they have to split their forces to attack Tsang State? Wouldn't it be better to attack one place together? Even if Chu Tian and Meng Qingwu did not understand military matters, they still had some basic knowledge. The 5 frontline fortresses had 600,000 soldiers and they were all the elites of the southern summer country. The warhounds would need to send at least double the number of elites to pose a threat here. The warhounds were in a precarious situation and the large tribes did not have any food, so it was impossible for them to gather an army of 1 million. No matter what, the warhound's surprise attack was a fact. He had to tell the Southern Summer King and Dongfang Zhan of this matter, letting the frontline fortresses prepare their defenses ahead of time. Chu Tian immediately went to find the Southern Summer King. What? The Southern Summer King had just finished inspecting the 5 fortresses and was drinking tea in Dongfang Zhan's command room. When he heard this news, he immediately smashed the teacup. The warhounds dare attack the imperial region. The Southern Summer King flew into a thunderous rage. All right, since they dare send themselves to death, then we'll let them taste the might of the Southern Summer Fortress garrison. Dongfang Zhan, immediately prepare for battle. Dongfang Zhan did not need to explain. Actually Dongfang Zhan had already felt that something was strange. The sentry post had not reported the situation on the prairies to the fortress, which was something that should not have happened. Moreover, the scouts the calm martial ruler had planted in the prairies did not come back alive. All of these signs indicated that something was about to happen. When the bell rang in the iron fortress, all the soldiers in the fortress were mobilized. Tens of thousands of archers took up their shooting positions and various crossbow carts were prepared. The frontline fortresses often had to deal with enemy attacks, so they had already formed a fast response system. Not to mention the little fox's unexpected discovery of the warhound's army gave the fortress at least 2 hours of preparation time, which was enough for them to prepare their defenses. The battlefield is dangerous. For my king's safety, I ask my king to immediately be escorted back to Imperial City by the Griffin Knights. Now that the entire frontline army knows that this king has come, if this king is timid in front of the enemy, wouldn't it hurt the morale of the frontline soldiers? Do I still want this Southern Summer King's face? The Southern Summer King was not a weak person. This king will personally supervise the battle today and fight against the warhounds with the frontline soldiers. Although Dongfang Zhan wanted to stop him, if the Southern Summer King left now, he would have the dignity of a king. The Southern Summer King was after all a true spirit expert. A single person could defeat 1,000 cavalry, so protecting himself was not a problem. Not to mention he had the powerful Griffin Knights to protect him. Not to mention the fact that the enemy's attack was imminent. Retreating now was not safer than staying in the fortress. Forget it. The battle was more important. Dongfang Zhan immediately began to mobilize his troops. When the iron fortress had finished preparing for battle, waves of heaven-shaking war drums came from the horizon. It was like dark clouds mixed with muffled thunder, making people feel very oppressed. The warhound's army was too big, covering the entire prairies with a single glance. There were at least 700,000 to 800,000 people in front and several dozen miles away. When he saw the size of the enemy, even Dongfang Zhan was shocked. There was a bad premonition that covered the entire frontline fortress. Tsang State had sent 400,000 and the Imperial region had sent 800,000. These two armies added up to 1,200,000. An army of 1,200,000 was enough to pose a large threat to the frontline fortress, so why did the warhounds send 400,000 to attack Tsang State? There was only one reason. The warhounds thought that 800,000 was more than enough to attack the Imperial region. That's right. It was not attacking the frontline fortress, it was attacking the Imperial region. The 600,000 soldiers in the frontline fortress could block double the enemy, and Imperial City had a quick response team, which was the Storm Cavalry. If there was an emergency on the front lines, the calm martial ruler could lead the Storm Cavalry to support them. The warhounds' goal in attacking Tsang State was not to attack Tsang State City or to destroy the farms, they were just using the simplest method of luring the tiger away from the mountain. In the entire southern Xia, the commander the warhounds feared the most was the calm martial ruler. Secondly, there was a total of 500,000 cavalry in the northern southern summer country, with 100,000 in the Great Wall Army, 200,000 in Tsang State, and 200,000 in Imperial City. These 500,000 soldiers reacted very quickly, so no matter where they were attacked, they could immediately send reinforcements. This was what the warhounds were worried about. After the warhounds attacked Tsang State, the calm martial ruler led the Storm Cavalry to Tsang State and surrounded the 400,000 warhounds cavalry with the Tsang State Army's 200,000 cavalry. The warhounds used 400,000 cavalry to tie down the calm martial ruler and the 400,000 cavalry of southern Xia. When the two quick response teams could not leave and when southern Xia's strongest general, the calm martial ruler, was sent away, the warhounds' goal had been achieved. When the 400,000 cavalry entered Tsang State, the frontline fortress would not be able to send reinforcements in time. The warhounds had at least 10 days of time, and they wanted to use these 10 days to break through the frontline fortress before flattening the entire imperial region. After Dongfang Zhan understood the warhounds' intentions, that deep sense of foreboding became even stronger. Dongfang Zhan had been fighting the warhounds for 50 years, and this kind of tactic should not appear on the simple-minded warhounds. This kind of abnormal behavior, how could people not be shocked? Chapter 319. What changes had happened to the warhounds' plains? The 10 warhounds tribes all had a population of 4–5 million, but they had been fighting each other all year round, so their elite soldiers had suffered heavy casualties. How could they form an army of 1 million people? Although the warhounds were all soldiers, if they wanted to attack southern Xia, normal warhound soldiers could not be used, they could only select 1 out of 10 elites. Not to mention that a single tribe could not gather an army of 1,000,000 people. Even if they could, would they start a war of this scale alone? The only possibility was the allied army. The 10 warhounds tribes had formed an alliance once again. The strange thing about this alliance was that it was completed in a single night. The warhounds tribes that were killing each other suddenly made peace and began to attack Southern Xia, catching Southern Xia off guard. Where did the warhounds get their confidence from? They were no longer the warhounds of the past. Did they really think an army of 700,000–800,000 could capture the frontline fortress? The Southern Summer frontline fortress had 600,000 soldiers. Whether it was equipment, weapons, army quality, commanding ability, or material reserves, they were all things the warhounds could not compare to. Not to mention the fact that they had a majestic steel wall and an impenetrable fortress. It was true that the warhound soldiers were strong and the warhound soldiers did not fear death, but without double the number of elite soldiers, they could not fight this battle at all. Even if they had double the number, the warhounds might not be able to break through Southern Summer's barrier. Not to mention the 700,000–800,000 soldiers that looked like scattered sand. Of course, no matter what the warhounds were thinking or what hidden cards they had, it was no longer important. The facts were in front of them. This was a battle rarely seen in 100 years. The warhounds' planes might have changed without Southern Xia knowing, but Southern Xia was not the same as before. The frontline fortress was guarded by the most elite troops of Southern Xia, and with the battle strength of this army, they would be able to block the warhounds. Dongfang Zhan personally went up the watchtower to supervise the battle, prepare the army. The soldiers of Southern Xia drew their bows, and every arrow was wrapped in a talisman. When the archers drew their bows, the talisman would be activated, and the arrows would be shot out at the same time. Ice, fire, lightning, all kinds of energies intertwined. This was going to be an unforgettable feast. The warhounds charged forward like a flood. When they were about to enter their firing range, the warhounds' army suddenly stopped moving forward and actually confronted the Southern Summer frontline fortress. What was going on? Meng Qinggu was very confused seeing this. The warhounds' army's momentum was terrifying, so why didn't they attack in one go? At this moment, they were only shouting and cursing from afar. There was no sign of them launching an attack. Chu Tian was carefully observing the warhounds' army. Most of them were cavalry, and the mounts they rode were all different. Large mounts included giant elephants and rhinoceroses, medium mounts included lions, tigers, warhorses, and so on. There were also some people riding on wolves and lizards. In short, there were all kinds of strange things. Their equipment was also very simple and crude. Although they were large, they gave off a feeling of looseness. Only their numbers were too shocking. When the dense crowd of people covered the grassland, one couldn't see the front or the back, and one could only see colorful banners fluttering in the wind. All kinds of drums, trumpets, shouts, and roars practically resounded through the sky and became the main melody of this world. The most eye-catching targets of this army were several incomparably large monsters. There was one that looked like a gorilla, but it looked much more fierce. Its skin was like ash-white rock, with a large round head, 4 thick limbs, and a body that was close to 40 meters tall. Its head and chest were covered in several layers of armor and its body was tied up by several dozen chains. On its back was a large bamboo basket filled with warhound soldiers. The warhounds did not have any siege weapons. How could they break through the 50-meter-tall city walls? This incomparably large monster was the warhound's siege weapon. Normal arrows could not harm them at all, and even the heavy crossbow carts could only cause superficial wounds. They could throw several dozen tons of stone balls at the city, and they could throw the warhound soldiers into the city in a basket. The Southern Summer King gave a few cold disdainful laughs. It's been over 100 years and the warhounds have not made any progress at all. This kind of motley crew, so what if their numbers were doubled? Do they want to capture Southern Xia with just them? What a joke. This should be the majority of the warhounds' planes fighting strength. If we can destroy them in one fell swoop, we will be able to heavily injure the war hounds. The Southern Summer Army will be invincible in the future. Although he said this, the war hounds could not be underestimated. The spirit beasts were not afraid of death, and they would charge forward like crazy when fighting. Even if their formation was loose, they could not be underestimated. There were many experts in the warhound's tribe, and there would often be some unknown little spirit beasts that were peak experts in the 8th or 9th awakened soul layer. So, they could not be careless when dealing with these fellows. Meng Qinggu asked, "Why aren't they attacking?" Gu Qianqiu said with a serious expression, "This old man thinks they are waiting for air support." What was air support? Meng Qingwu's question had just appeared in her mind when a terrifying scream came from the sky, as if the sky was being torn apart. Dozens of giant magical beasts that were more than 100 feet long were bringing thousands of ordinary magical beasts from the ruins towards the fortress like meteors, and also like a large dark cloud that was covering the city tower. Those giant demon beasts were all giant eagles, with each giant eagle carrying at least 600-700 warhounds experts. At this moment, they were purely being used as transportation tools. There were quite a few normal warhounds aerial cavalry, riding all kinds of strange prairie-flying demon beasts, escorting several dozen giant eagles. This was the so-called air support. The warhounds also had an air force. The frontline fortress walls were very high, and although there were giant siege beasts, it was hard to get close. Then they first used the demon beasts to send a group of elite suicide squad up. Even if they couldn't directly open the fortress, they could at least disrupt the Southern Summer Army. In this kind of situation, if they attacked on the ground, their chances of success would greatly increase. This was not considered a battle tactic. The warhounds had fought with Southern Xia, so they knew a few tricks to attacking a city. It could be seen from this point that the warhounds were very well prepared. There were several 100,000 ordinary soldiers and at least 20,000 airborne soldiers. Dongfang Zhan's face sunk. "Release the arrows." When the warhound's airborne army was prepared to attack, a dense rain of arrows was released from the fortress and the city walls. Shwa, 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 shwa. Every arrow was enveloped in the glow of spirit energy and shot into the sky with extreme speed and accuracy. Every arrow contained a powerful force as it pierced into the giant bird's body. The defensive methods of the demon beasts were unable to withstand so many attacks. When some of the arrows pierced through the tough feathers and flesh, the talismans tied to the arrows were all activated. Peng, peng, peng. Looking at the sky from the fortress, the surface of those magical beasts exploded one after another, causing a rain of blood, broken feathers, and minced meat to rain down incessantly, and ear-piercing wails resounded through the sky. Dongfang Zhan waved the flag high up, "Continue to release the arrows." At this time, the warhound's airborne army was very close to the fortress. A warhound's commander on the back of a black hawk stood up and released his source spirit, turning into 6 spiritual wolf soldiers that blocked the rain of arrows for his mount. He raised the saber in his hand high up and let out a loud roar. "Kill! Kill all humans! For the warhounds!" Chu Tian said in a surprised voice when he saw this person, "Noaluo?" Meng Qinggu was very surprised. "How do you know him?" Chu Tian explained, "He is the warhound's expert we met in the Scarlet Swamp. He is a peak 9th awakened soul layer cultivator. He is very strong." Meng Qingwu's heart was very heavy. A peak 9th awakened soul layer expert had actually joined the suicide squad. It could be imagined just how determined the warhounds were. Although they were being attacked by the fortress, the warhounds were not afraid. A group of troops had already landed and quickly landed on the fortress. This did not mean they could break in. The structure of the Iron City was sealed. Even above the battle paths in the city walls, there were several layers of dense iron nets. The surface of the nets was also covered with sharp points. The archers of the fortress were mostly stationed at the shooting windows or in the shooting corridors. How could an important fortress not consider the problem of air defense? The warhounds airborne could bring quite a bit of trouble, but it was impossible to break through the fortress. The Southern Summer Army continued to shoot arrows. Countless giant eagles and eagles were hit and the warhounds fell down like rain. There were some that fell into the air, falling into the countless spikes of the iron nets. They were instantly cut into pieces and finally turned into a pile of rotten meat. The Southern Summer Army was very orderly. The entire army was moving inside the fortress, so the warhounds outside could not attack at all. However, at this moment, a giant eagle that had been shot by hundreds of arrows and was riddled with scars suddenly swooped down valiantly. It hit the top of the two city walls and used its giant claws to tear a hole in the iron net. Although it was eventually killed by the arrows, it opened up a gap. Roar, roar. Several hundred warhounds warriors slid down the wings, falling into the Iron City's battle path. This is bad, the warhounds are coming in. Kill, stop them, stop them. Several thousand Southern Summer soldiers entered the fortress, attacking from the left and right. These warhound soldiers were all elites and although they knew they were going to die, it was hard to imagine how fierce they were, causing the Southern Summer soldiers to suffer double the casualties. Woo, woo. The warhounds' army blew their horns to attack. That black mass army began to charge at the fortress. It was like a black tide pressing down on the city, attempting to tear it to pieces. The warhounds' airborne soldiers had already attracted a large amount of firepower, so now was the best time for the warhounds to attack. This kind of momentum was too terrifying. The earth shook and the entire fortress trembled, with the sounds of killing coming from all directions. Was this a war between countries? Meng Qinggu had never seen this kind of fierce battle before, it was too shocking for her. Her face turned pale. In this kind of large-scale battle, a single person's strength was too small. Chu Tian comforted her, "Don't worry, we will win." Damn! Damn warhounds! The Southern Summer King found that the fortress had been infiltrated by the warhounds' airborne soldiers and immediately flew into a rage. He ordered the Griffin Knights beside him, "What are you still doing? Go resist the warhounds' airborne troops." The Griffin Knight captain had a look of hesitation, "But, Your Majesty." The Southern Summer King released a terrifying aura, "Could it be that this king needs your protection? Can't you see the Southern Summer soldiers fighting a bloody battle? You are the glorious royal knights, how can you just watch from the side?" "Yes." The Griffin Knight captain waved his hand, "Go, fight the warhounds." Several hundred Griffin Knights rode their Griffin mounts and charged out of the fortress. These royal knights were all illustrious Soul Realm experts and although there weren't many of them, they were very strong. With them joining the battle, the Southern Summer Army felt the pressure decrease by a large amount. The Southern Summer King walked in front of Chu Tian, Meng Qinggu, and Gu Qianqiu, two great scholars. "Young Miss Meng Qinggu, you should immediately go to a safe place." Gu Qianqiu knit his brows, "Your Majesty is not willing to retreat, how can we cower?" "This is an order." The Southern Summer King said in a dignified voice, "You scholars have your own stage, the blood of scholars should not be shed on the battlefield. Go." The Southern Summer King had already made his decision. He would personally join the battle. In this large-scale battle, although a trivial True Spirit Realm expert could not have a decisive effect, the Southern Summer King's strength was enough to deter the warhounds. With the king personally joining the battle, it was a large morale boost for the soldiers. Gu Qianqiu did not even have time to speak. Chu Tian's divine sense felt something and he immediately shouted, "Be careful of the window." Hong! The window made of refined iron was blasted into smithereens, and a large amount of arrows and darts were shot into the room. Dozens of agile figures followed closely behind, barging into the place where they were. Chapter 320. The moment the warhounds attacked, Chu Tian's feet stepped back and he pulled out his sword to block the incoming arrows and darts. At the same time, he took out his sword from the gourd and threw it to Meng Qinggu beside him, "Adapt to the situation and protect yourself." Meng Qinggu took the sword and took a defensive stance. At this time, The Southern Summer King gave an angry roar. Things that overestimate themselves, you actually dare to assassinate this king? A vast spirit energy came out and turned into a giant shield. The hidden weapons that fell on the shield were all shattered. The strong pressure from the awakening of this source spirit made the Warhound's elites mounts panic, almost running away. The Southern Summer King was very confident, and he had reason to be confident. A true spirit realm expert was a peak expert whether it was a small kingdom or a large kingdom. Normal people could not threaten him at all, so it did not matter if the Griffin Knights were by his side. With the Southern Summer King's strength, it was not a problem for him to protect himself. Several dozen incomparably agile figures shot out like arrows, jumping through the broken window. They were very fast and they all had source spirits protecting them, clearly showing that they were awakened soul experts. The Southern Summer King's aura shocked them. These warhounds were shocked, they never thought that the giants would meet such a powerful character. However, fear and hesitation were the most fatal things on the battlefield. Only the brave would win, so they did not hesitate at all. They pulled out their weapons when they landed and immediately surrounded the Southern Summer King's group. Scoundrels! Gu Qianqiu casually sent out a palm. With a strong palm strength, the Warhound's elite's armor and bones were shattered. They crashed through the broken window and fell to the ground, turning into meat paste. Chu Tian had just blocked a blade glow when Meng Qinggu took this chance to stab her sword into the Warhound's chest, instantly breaking his chest armor and organs. Blood sprayed out onto Meng Qinggu's body, making Meng Qinggu feel a wave of disgust. Young miss, you've done well. Chu Tian never thought that Meng Qinggu, who was usually a gentle and dignified person, would be so decisive and ruthless when it came to killing people. It was a pity that the young miss did not have much battle talent. Her heavenly book source spirit could make her a top scholar, but it could not make her a strong warrior. Meng Qinggu's face was pale. She wiped off the blood on her white clothes, but found that the area was getting bigger and bigger. In the end, she didn't care anymore. There are more and more enemies, and you still have the mood to tease me? Hurry up and do it. Chu Tian didn't care and laughed. I don't think it's our turn. Meng Qinggu did not understand what Chu Tian meant. She saw the Southern Summer King's royal robe move without any wind. The source spirit that had condensed into a shield instantly turned into several dozen spears that shot out. This speed was so fast that the Warhound's elites could not see it clearly. They could only see a beam of light piercing through their bodies, and that brutal strength directly smashed their bodies to pieces. Meng Qinggu was very shocked. Several dozen awakened soul realm experts had been instantly killed. Was this the Southern Summer King's strength? True spirit realm expert. Quickly retreat. The surviving Warhound's elites were scared out of their wits. They were mostly void soul cultivators in the 3rd to 2nd awakened soul layer, and the 2 leaders were only in the illustrious soul realm. This kind of strength was not bad in a small country battlefield, but how could they fight with a true spirit realm expert? Before these people could even take a few steps, a figure charged out from the corridor with a spear in his hand, sweeping out like lightning. The Warhound's elites did not even have a chance to run before they were instantly killed by the spear. This general came late, I ask your majesty for forgiveness. Wang Tianlong was holding a bloody spear and his armor was covered in blood. It was clear that he had killed his way here. Behind Wang Tianlong were 4-5 Southern Xia high-level generals, all wearing heavy armor with the Battle Dragon Army symbol engraved on them. The Southern Summer King nodded. General Wang came just in time. You will charge with this king and repel the Warhounds together. You can't. Wang Tianlong knelt down on one knee and said with an anxious face, My king, the situation is very urgent. The enemy has sent out many experts, so please think of the Southern Summer Country and retreat to a safe place. The Southern Summer King was very dissatisfied. You. The words did not come out. Wang Tianlong suddenly gripped his spear and a hard-to-detect killing intent appeared in his deep eyes. Chu Tian was very keen to catch this hard-to-detect detail. His expression changed and he immediately shouted, Be careful of a sneak attack. Although it sounded complicated, it actually happened in an instant. Wang Tianlong, who was kneeling on one knee, suddenly stomped on the ground with his right foot, and the energy he had been accumulating for a long time shattered the steel floor. The spear in his right hand released a cold glow as it pointed at the Southern Summer King's head. It was too sudden. This attack contained all of Wang Tianlong's strength. Even a true spirit expert could not block it with a hasty defense. In this instant, although Chu Tian had given a warning, the Southern Summer King was not prepared at all, so he did not have time to gather enough strength. However, he still grabbed the spear in reflex. The Southern Summer King's strength was deep. With this grab, Wang Tianlong's spear could not move forward at all. Wang Tianlong had already expected this. When the spear was grabbed, he decisively let go of the spear in his hand and slightly leaned forward. Leaping up like a leopard, a dark green dagger appeared from his right arm guard and he fiercely stabbed out. The Southern Summer King felt a pain in his chest as the dagger stabbed into his body. A burning feeling covered his entire body. The Southern Summer King gave an angry roar as he sent out a palm with his left hand. Wang Tianlong was sent flying into the wall and a large hole appeared in the steel wall. Gu Qianqiu angrily roared, "Wang Tianlong, you traitor!" The Southern Summer King's face turned dark as he pulled out the dark green dagger from his chest. This dagger was clearly covered in poison and he could already feel the poison invading his body. If he had not twisted his muscles at the critical moment and diverted the dagger away from his heart, this sneak attack would have taken his life. The Southern Summer King spat out a mouthful of black blood as he revealed a look of disbelief. "You actually dare betray this king?" Wang Tianlong walked out from the hole in the wall and instantly became a different person. There was no modesty on his face and it was cold and deep with a taunting smile on his face. Because with the protection of the Flood Dragon, the Southern Summer King's palm could not kill him and would at most cause some internal injuries. "King, are you worthy? Is your Dongfang family worthy? My clan is the king. You're just a usurper." Wang Tianlong gave a cold laugh. "Do you think that leaving behind a trace of my great summer royal bloodline will make us grateful to the Dongfang family? This is a mistake, a giant mistake." Gu Qianqiu angrily rebuked, "If not for the Dongfang family, the great summer country would not have been able to keep its territory. As for you, for your own benefit, you actually colluded with the war hounds. Do you know how the great summer royal family was exterminated? A cruel and unscrupulous person like you is forsaken by man and God." The Southern Summer King was filled with regret. Dongfang Zhan was a family elder that understood the vicissitudes of life, but he had already seen through Wang Tianlong's nature. That humble appearance hid a terrifying ambition. Although Dongfang Zhan did not know what Wang Tianlong was chasing, he knew that this kind of person was very dangerous, so he gave the Southern Summer King a warning. If the Southern Summer King had listened to Dongfang Zhan's warning and was a bit more suspicious of Wang Tianlong would not have had the chance to sneak attack him. It was too late to say anything now. Since this is a mistake, this king will make up for it today. The Dongfang family's weapon-tempering source spirit was released once again. This source spirit could turn into a weapon or armor, so it could adapt to different situations. The Southern Summer King turned into a giant purple sword and slashed at Wang Tianlong with a heaven-splitting aura. The Southern Summer King had just stepped into the True Spirit Realm and was a bit weaker than the three rulers, but the True Spirit Realm and the Awakened Soul Realm were completely different concepts. This gap was not something that could be easily crossed. If this sword hit Wang Tianlong, it would be useless no matter how strong Wang Tianlong's defenses were. This was a sword that would definitely kill him. Before the giant sword hit him, the strong pressure already made Wang Tianlong unable to move. The Southern Summer King angrily roared, "Die!" At this time, a general jumped out from behind Wang Tianlong and pulled out a black blade from his waist. He instantly appeared in front of Wang Tianlong and raised the black blade to block the Southern Summer King's lightning-fast sword. Even if the Southern Summer King was heavily injured by the sneak attack, it was still a true spirit realm attack. If there was someone that could block the Southern Summer King's sword, that person would at least be a true spirit realm expert. The Southern Summer King took a few steps back and held his bleeding chest. It was clear that the poison was even stronger as he asked with a dark face, "Who are you? Is your excellency the famous Southern Summer King?" This person took off his helmet. It was a wolf race spirit beast, clearly a warhound's expert. His eyes were demonic and his aura was mysterious. There was a black blade in his hand that was very simple, like it was made of stone. There was a layer of ash-black flames on the surface, Hell Song Tribe's vice chief, Nether Flame Blade Malam. A warhound's true spirit expert. This was the large tribe that the calm martial ruler mentioned several times. The Southern Summer King suddenly felt very sad. The calm martial ruler had hinted to him several times that there was a problem with this tribe, but the Southern Summer King did not care about it at all. Dongfang Zhan, calm martial ruler, the two pillars of the country, this king has truly let you down. Wang Tianlong could disguise the Hell Song tribe's vice chief as the Battle Dragon Army's vice general and bring him into the fortress. This made the Southern Summer King's heart skip a beat as he suddenly had a very bad premonition. Wang Tianlong was one of the vice commanders of the frontline fortress, and if he betrayed them, the consequences would be unimaginable. Since he could bring a warhounds expert into the fortress, it was very likely he could bring more warhounds experts in or even hide an entire warhounds army in the fortress. Wang Tianlong was the Battle Dragon Army's commander. If Wang Tianlong betrayed them, even if the entire Battle Dragon Army did not betray them, at least the Earth Dragon Knights under Wang Tianlong would betray them. Although there were only 1,000 of them, they were still a very strong army. This is bad. The fortress was in danger. No matter how strong this fortress was, it could only defend against external attacks. If the enemy appeared inside the fortress, could this fortress still be impregnable? Whether it was the Imperial City Cavalry or the Tsang State Cavalry, it was impossible for them to come to their rescue. Imperial City still had several 100,000 soldiers stationed there, but they were all heavily armored. Distant water could not put out a nearby fire. Stupid human king. Malam raised the plain black blade in his hand and said in fluent human language, "You have been poisoned by the Hell Song, a voodoo poison specially made by true spirit realm experts. I'm afraid no one in this world can cure this poison, so you are destined to die here. Your death will be the beginning of the Southern Summer Country's destruction. In your dreams. It doesn't matter if you admit it or not, Southern Xia has completely lost." Malam coldly said, "The humans do not have any chance of winning, your destruction is already inevitable." This spirit beast was calm and cold, not like the warhounds at all. Although he was a terrifying true spirit realm expert, the Southern Summer King had never heard of his name before. This was too hard to explain. "Respected envoy, this person is very important." Wang Tianlong pointed at Chu Tian and said, "Please capture him." The Southern Summer King's hands suddenly came together and wild energy soared into the sky, turning into a long spear covered in runes. Malam calmly raised his black blade to meet the attack. When the two weapons collided, there was no sound and no explosion. The Southern Summer King had a strange feeling. When the attack collided, it was completely absorbed. This person's weapon was like a bottomless black hole, absorbing the Southern Summer King's spirit energy and counteracting the Southern Summer King's attack. Malam coldly said, "Leave the human king to me, you are in charge of dealing with the others. Other than this one called Chu Tian, kill them all." The Battle Dragon Army officers took off their clothes and revealed that they were all famous warhounds experts, all of them in the peak 9th awakened soul layer. This is bad. How could Chu Tian not see it? This Malam was stronger than the Southern Summer King by a bit, and the Southern Summer King had been heavily injured from the sneak attack, so the Southern Summer King was bound to lose. Other than the powerful Malam, the Warhounds had 5 peak 9th awakened soul layer experts and the rebel general Wang Tianlong. 6 peak 9th awakened soul layer experts. Gu Qianqiu and the little fox could only block one of them at most, so they had no chance of winning. Things developing to this point was something Chu Tian never thought would happen. Today's sudden crisis was completely unexpected for Chu Tian. He did not have any advance warning or preparations, so he and the young miss would fall into a dangerous situation. Chapter 321. The moment the two true spirit realm experts made a move, the surging spirit energy almost tore the entire room apart. Malam's blade covered in ash-black flames knocked away the Southern Summer King's spear and slashed at the Southern Summer King's body. Although his source spirit turned into a defensive state, the strange black blade could still absorb his spirit energy, finally releasing a powerful force that sent the Southern Summer King flying. This is too boring. Malam brandished the black flame blade twice with a depressed and dissatisfied look on his face. Why did you need to use poison? It would have been good to have a fair fight, but it's a pity that Big Brother won't listen to me, making this fight so boring. This kind of insult was a great shame to the Southern Summer King, but the heavily injured Southern Summer King had no other choice. It was impossible for him to defeat Malam in his current state. Almost at the same time the Southern Summer King was pushed back, Wang Tianlong led the 5 Warhounds experts to attack Chu Tian's group. Chu Tian shouted, "Fox!" The little fox of course knew what to do. The soul puppet was thrown high into the air and the little fox blew at it. The dragon lizard beast's giant body instantly covered most of the room and a green light shot out from its mouth, sweeping at the peak 9th awakened soul layer experts. The dragon lizard beast's strength was not small, even these experts had to dodge. Humph! Malam raised his black blade as he charged forward. The dragon lizard beast's green light that could decompose matter was actually cut apart by the black blade, not having any effect at all. Capture Chu Tian alive. The 6 experts attacked again. Gu Qianqiu had just blocked one Warhounds expert when another Warhounds expert launched a sneak attack. Gu Qianqiu's protective spirit energy was pierced by the halberd and he was instantly heavily injured by the powerful attack. Meng Qingwu's heart sank to the bottom. It's over. The Southern Summer King and Gu Qianqiu did not have the strength to resist and Meng Qingwu and Chu Tian's cultivations were too weak, so they had no use at all. It was impossible for there to be reinforcements and it was impossible for a miracle to appear. They were dead no matter what. At this critical moment, Chu Tian pulled out 2 submachine guns. Do you still remember this? Not good. Wang Tianlong's expression changed as he retreated. Large amounts of dark red needles poured out like a storm and several Warhounds experts were hit, falling to the ground with pitiful cries. Each needle had been dipped in poison and although it couldn't kill these experts, it could still make their bodies feel numb. When Malam saw this, his black blade released a black flame that blocked in front of them. The spirit energy of a true spirit realm expert was too thick and the level 2 blood-een steel could not penetrate it. There wasn't much ammunition left in the 2 guns. Chu Tian frowned. There was no other way. In the end, he was a true spirit realm expert. All the methods an awakened soul cultivator had were useless in front of a true spirit realm expert. Unless they could exhaust the true spirit realm expert's spirit energy and charge at them when their energy was exhausted, this method was clearly not suitable. Malam saw that Chu Tian was at his wit's end, but he did not launch another attack. Chu Tian, you have a bit of skill. If you choose to be loyal to the Warhounds, I can spare your life. All right. Chu Tian laughed, you want me to join the Warhounds? Then I have a condition, kill Wang Tianlong. Wang Tianlong never thought that Chu Tian would make this move, respected envoy. Humph, do you think you have the qualifications to discuss conditions with me? Letting you live is the greatest gift I can give you. Chu Tian laughed a few times, then I'm sorry, not every human is like a piece of trash that sells their ancestors and not every human is willing to live under a group of hairy beasts. The piece of trash that sold their ancestors was naturally Wang Tianlong. The hairy beasts were definitely referring to the spirit beasts. Shameless boasting. Malam's eyes flashed with a trace of anger, since you're not willing to surrender, then I'll just directly make a move. I'll kill the people by your side first and see if you can still laugh like this. Malam's bewitching blade was covered in a layer of black flames. Meng Qinggu felt a terrifying killing intent envelop her. This is bad. Malam could see that Meng Qinggu and Chu Tian's relationship was not shallow, so he decided to kill Meng Qinggu to anger Chu Tian. If Malam directly attacked Meng Qinggu would not have a chance of escaping. I'm afraid you don't have this kind of skill. As soon as Chu Tian's voice fell, suddenly, a terrifying aura was released from Chu Tian's body. Like an ancient demon god, it suddenly appeared on the ground. Malam, Wang Tianlong, the other warhounds experts, and even the Southern Summer King were all stunned by this power. Chu Tian floated into the air. That face no longer had the usual frivolous look, rather it was like an aloof emperor, a god looking down on all living beings. Nine-eyed demon god source spirit. Awaken. An incomparably large silhouette appeared behind Chu Tian and a powerful pressure filled the entire fortress. The warhounds attacking the fortress all felt this aura and their mounts were frightened, losing control of themselves. The entire battlefield fell into chaos. What was this horrifying power? Malam did not dare believe that such a weak human could release this kind of terrifying spiritual god strength. When he was shocked by the pressure released by Chu Tian, he immediately stopped attacking and went into a defensive state. Illusion technique? No, it didn't seem like it. This power was real. Just deliberately mystifying things. Kill him. The 5 warhounds experts received the order and all jumped up. They released their source spirits and attacked at the same time. When Chu Tian faced the 5-peak 9th awakened soul layer experts, his eyes were ice cold and his expression did not change. If someone looked carefully at his eyes, they would see that his eyes had changed color. The left was silver and the right was white, with 7 pupils forming the shape of a flower. You think you can kill me with just this? Chu Tian's voice was not loud, but it was filled with the majesty of a god. It was like a bomb exploding in the minds of the 5 warhounds experts. This spiritual wave was too strong, causing their source spirits to collapse and all the energy they gathered to disappear. Soul harvest. The purple pupils lit up. That hazy 9-eyed demon god raised a purple sickle and with an unbelievable speed, it instantly slashed across the bodies of the 5 warhounds experts. When the sickle slashed out, the 5-peak 9th awakened soul layer experts were not injured at all, but they did not even have time to let out pitiful cries before they all fell to the ground. They all had wide open eyes and were in a daze, they could not be more dead. Wang Tianlong suddenly revealed a look of fear. He instantly killed 5-peak 9th awakened soul layer experts. Even a true spirit realm expert could not do this. What kind of thing was he? After Chu Tian finished this attack, his skin began to bleed and his body began to waver. It was like there was a strong strength that almost tore his body apart. Malam noticed this situation. Although his strength is strong, it comes with a heavy price. His body is quickly withering and he can't hold on any longer. You go. How could Wang Tianlong dare go up? Even if Chu Tian's body was quickly weakening, that strong pressure still existed. Facing this spiritual god's pressure, even the bravest warrior would be afraid. Didn't Malam not dare go up himself? Useless trash, father won't play with you anymore. Chu Tian's white eyes lit up and a wave of energy spread out, wrapping around the Southern Summer King, Gu Qianqiu, and Meng Qinggu. Space suddenly fluctuated and the 4 of them disappeared at the same time. That terrifying aura completely disappeared. Malam and Wang Tianlong let out a sigh of relief. Teleportation. Wang Tianlong was shocked by Chu Tian's sudden disappearance. He can actually teleport. After this pressure disappeared, Malam gradually calmed down. He carefully thought about it. Chu Tian did not choose to fight him and instead used a spatial secret technique to escape. This meant that he had reached his limit and he did not have the confidence to continue using this power. This power was very strong. Even a true spirit realm expert would be afraid of it. However, with his weak cultivation, controlling this power was no different from committing suicide. His body would quickly weaken and this side effect would not disappear in a short period of time. Even if Chu Tian did not die, he would be half crippled. This person was hiding this kind of power. Chase, he had to chase. Malum sniffed, very close, he hasn't gone far. Chase for me. These people's auras were very close and this close would confirm his guess. Since Chu Tian could use a spatial secret technique, why didn't he run further away? There was only one possibility, he did not have enough strength. At this moment, Chu Tian, the Southern Summer King, Gu Qianqiu, and Meng Qinggu appeared in a corridor several hundred meters away. The little fox angrily cried out a few times. It still hadn't gotten its soul puppet back. In order to use the dragon lizard beast to stall for time, the little fox had thrown away its favorite soul puppet. Chu Tian. Meng Qinggu went to support Chu Tian and found that her hands were covered in blood. Chu Tian did not have any wounds on his body and this blood was clearly from the strong pressure, causing his blood vessels to burst. I won't die. Chu Tian was very weak, almost not being able to stand up. He could only swallow a few blood-clotting pills to temporarily stabilize his injuries. The others were not in a good situation either. The little fox had lost its puppet and was currently throwing a tantrum. Gu Qianqiu and the Southern Summer King were both injured, especially the Southern Summer King. His injuries were very serious as he spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. Gu Qianqiu quickly went to support him, Your Majesty. Let me see. Chu Tian supported Meng Qingwu's arm as he walked over with difficulty. He used his divine sense to check the Southern Summer King's body and his face turned serious as he said in a weak voice, I'm afraid it's troublesome. This poison is very strong and has already entered his internal organs. This is not good. Gu Qianqiu asked, Is there a way to cure it? Chu Tian said with a nod, There is a way. Of course there is. But it's too late now. I don't have the materials and I don't have the time to make the antidote. Chu Tian, just say it. The Southern Summer King looked at Chu Tian with a complicated gaze, How much time does this king have? Chu Tian hesitated a bit. The Southern Summer King's body was very bad and if he couldn't cure it in time, even with his true spirit realm cultivation, he wouldn't last long. At most. An hour or two. Everyone's expressions changed with fear. Hong. A hole was blasted open in the sealed passage. This is bad, they've caught up this quickly. This king can't pass this, but Southern Xia must pass it. The Southern Summer King tightly clenched his fists, this king will stall for time. Go find old General Dong Fangzhan and have him guard against the Battle Dragon Army's betrayal. The Warhound's army outside has been disturbed by Chu Tian's aura, so they won't be able to attack for a while. There is still time. As long as the frontline fortress was not broken through, Southern Xia would be fine. Once the fortress was broken through, it would be too late. Gu Qianqiu angrily said, I'll stall for time, you guys leave. The Southern Summer King grabbed Gu Qianqiu's clothes, think of the big picture. Gu Qianqiu was suddenly silent. He knew that with his strength, he could not stop Malum. Now that Chu Tian was very weak, only the Southern Summer King could stall for time. Chu Tian, this king has always been jealous of your talent, so I have always been biased towards you. Today I've seen your true strength and this king finally understands how stupid I was. With your strength, you will be able to stand at the peak of the continent in the future. Those emperors will have to bow down to you, so what does a small southern summer country count for? You can't die. If you fall, it would be too much of a pity. The Southern Summer King had already made his decision. When a person was about to die, his words were good. Please keep this token well. The Southern Summer King gave the token to Chu Tian, Imperial Teacher, please be a witness and pass on this king's final message. Gu Qianqiu was already covered in tears, Your Majesty. The Southern Summer King said in a low voice, this king is useless and has let down the ancestors. Now that Southern Xia is facing a crisis, this king can only face it with his own body. However, a country cannot be without a ruler. Dongfang Haoran is useless and cannot turn the tide in this crisis. The calm martial ruler, Dongfang Gan, will inherit the Southern Summer King's position and lead the Southern Summer Country against the war hounds. Other than that, Chu Tian will be given the title of country guarding ruler, ranking first among the rulers. Any descendant of the Dongfang family that dares to betray the ruler will be abandoned by the gods and will be destroyed by the heavens. Chu Tian cupped his hands. Before he had time to speak, the Southern Summer King grabbed Chu Tian's hand and added, "If the Dongfang family cannot be supported, the ruler can abolish his throne and make himself the Southern Summer King." The weight of these words was too heavy. "Imperial teacher, did you hear this clearly?" Gu Qianqiu kneeled down. "This old minister will follow the king's orders." Chu Tian and Meng Qingwu also bowed to the Southern Summer King. For the Southern Summer King to do this with his personality, it was truly shocking. Although Chu Tian did not want the title, in this situation, Chu Tian could not reject it. After all, the Southern Summer King did not have much time left. At this time, a sharp killing intent enveloped them. The Southern Summer King used the Dongfang family's secret technique, burning his vitality and instantly releasing his strength. An invisible hand grabbed the three of them and threw them outside. Then he knelt down in front of them and clenched his fists as he loudly shouted, "I leave the Southern Summer Country in everyone's hands. You must take revenge for this king." A king that did not kneel even in death was now kneeling to the three of them. What kind of tragic scene was this? The moment the passage closed, a large sound came from behind him. Malam's group had charged in and the Southern Summer King turned around to look at them with a cold gaze. "You're not running." "Running? This king is the Southern Summer King. Even if I die, I will die with dignity." Malam was silent for a few seconds before nodding to Wang Tianlong beside him and saying, "Step down and don't interfere. I will send the Southern Summer King off one last time." The Southern Summer King broke out in laughter. "Come." The two of them collided. The wild strength of the true spirit realm instantly created a powerful explosion. The intense battle lasted for around 10 minutes before it finally stopped. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.